Starting life with a simple wish for a warm family is a heavy way to begin. Instead of love, it was a life of high expectations and constant pressure to be at the top. He did exactly what he was told, landing a top-tier job that drained the life out of him. Now he is just another exhausted corporate drone stuck in a lonely routine that never ends. The only thing keeping him going is his favorite game series, and he finally made it home for a major new release. The download hits 100%, but a strange welcome screen flashes just as he blacks out. Suddenly, he is staring up at total strangers from inside a crib. 1 second he was downloading a game, and the next, he is a literal baby. Confusion turns to concern as these strangers call for a priest to start some kind of ritual. Our boy wakes up in a place that definitely isn't his messy old apartment. Where am I? He's totally lost while his new parents hover over him, looking stressed. The priest doesn't waste any time demanding to carve a crest upon the child. MC realizes his tiny body won't move, and a weird sensation starts taking over. A blinding magic circle flares to life as the priest shouts his command. Suddenly, it's not just a weird feeling, it's a searing pain. His throat feels like it's burning as the ritual takes hold. His new parents tell him to hang in there, but the pain is just too much. Rid lets out a long, soul-crushing wail. Ritual success is confirmed by the priest. Is Rid okay? His father can barely keep it together as the baby continues to cough from the strain. The result is undeniable. This child must be a magic wielder. A glowing crest has settled on his throat, leaving his parents in complete shock. His parents are over the moon, calling him a talent that only comes around every 100 years. They hold him tight while celebrating the successful ritual. But our boy Rid has no clue what they are talking about. 3 years later, our boy is already thriving as Rid Springfield. He still remembers his previous life as a gamer who suddenly found himself in this new world after a long night. It is a strange twist of fate, but he is officially leaning into his new role as a noble heir. The Springfield family officially holds the title of nobles, ruling over a modest territory deep in the countryside. A world with magic and a noble title. Our boy is convinced he scored a high-class luxury reincarnation destination. Or at least, that is what he thought before reality kicked in. A rejection letter leaves his father in despair. He joins the family in the living room as they carry on with their chores. The noble title doesn't come with a full vault. They are running out of options for their operating funds. Our boy finally realizes the truth. They are actually a fallen noble family. Their lifestyle isn't any different from commoners, with ancient furniture and simple clothes being the norm for everyone in the house. In the Gladsheim kingdom, magic is the ultimate symbol of authority and strength. Your bloodline value is determined solely by the intensity of the magic you can produce. The family used to be high-ranking dukes, but now they have been demoted all the way down to viscounts. The reason for their ruin is simple. Not a single magic user has been born into the Springfield family for over 100 years. If Rid had failed his magic ritual, his family would have lost their noble status entirely. Now he is the star of hope for the clan for the first time in a century, which is a massive amount of responsibility to carry. Dinner time is usually just potato and bean soup due to a trash harvest this year. Today is a rare win though, as his dad caught some fresh meat while hunting to make things a bit more exciting. His dad ruffles his hair and tells him to eat his fill so he can grow up big and strong. Our boy digs in with way too much energy, but the excitement gets the better of him as he starts choking on the food almost immediately. Rid is coughing and struggling after getting too aggressive with the meal. His parents are losing it, shouting his name and panicking as they try to make sure their star of hope doesn't go out like this. Rosabella is on high alert after a single cough. Our MC isn't even mad since he's nearly checked out of this life a few times already. It's called magic fever, a process where the body dumps excess mana. Since his crest is on his throat, the coughing just won't quit. This fever is hitting different. It's way past the normal limit, leaving his parents completely stressed out. Rosabella won't leave his side, promising to stay right there until he's better. Rid can barely whisper for his mother as he drifts off. This level of care is a first for him. Back in his old life, his parents were always too busy with work to notice him. The warmth of a real family finally starts to sink in. He's finally found the kind of home he never knew was possible. Rosabella is already getting emotional over how much her son has grown. His dad is just as proud, watching the kid bolt from the table after finishing his meal. His mom can't believe he is already back to studying, while his dad is impressed by the advanced magic textbook he is lugging around. The little man is on a mission to get his magic working. Since he has not successfully cast anything yet, he is doubling down on the practice sessions. Rosabella sees that same drive in him that his father has. She is clearly impressed by his work ethic and gives him a proud smile. His parents tell him it is okay to just go play outside or read a normal book for once. Rid realizes that for the first time in either life, nobody is forcing him to perform. A flashback to his previous life shows a much different story. His old parents kept him buried in books just to secure a high-level corporate future. He realizes now that his past family was only chasing prestige. This time, having a family that actually respects his will is a total game changer. Rid thanks his parents for the love, but he is already on a grind to master magic and start contributing. His dad notices how studious the kid is, though he suspects the family ancient library might be a bit behind the times. Since magic is a no-go for now, our boy pivots instantly and asks his dad to teach him the way of the sword. The kid lets out a pout while his dad worries that he might be a little too small to handle a real blade just yet. Looking at the family gear on the wall, his father finally decides it is time to give the kid a shot. Dad invites him to join the hunt tomorrow, and Rid is losing it with excitement over the chance to see some real action. His mom is all for it, while his dad reassures them both that it is just a simple trap-setting mission with zero threat from large monsters. Mom makes Rid promise to listen to everything his dad says as they seal the deal with a pinky swear. He is all in, giving her a big enthusiastic yes. They hit the trail, and Dad is immediately on safety patrol, telling him to watch his step. He reaches out a hand to help, and Rid happily follows along. Our boy takes a moment to hype up his dad, Georg, as a serious and sincere leader. The man gives his absolute best to fulfill his duties as a lord. His combat skills are top tier with both the sword and bow. Even without any magic, he is a total beast thanks to pure hard work. He even runs training sessions for the locals so they can protect themselves out in the sticks. It is all about making sure everyone in his territory can hold their own. While they walk, the locals start glazing the kid, saying he has got the talent to be a legend. Gorg is clearly soaking up the pride as his son gets recognized. The compliments are definitely getting to him, and Rid is more determined than ever to be a reliable lord. He wants to grow up and be just like his father someday. Jorg tries to play it cool while the hunters keep the compliments coming. Admissions follow that they really know how to get on his good side with all that praise. Pure respect fills Rid as he watches his father focus on the hunt. Georg locks in and pulls back his bowstring for the perfect shot. A single arrow flies true and takes down the target instantly. Watching from the safety of the brush, the rest of the group celebrates the success. Sensing something off, Georg still tries to keep the mood light. Orders are given to butcher the hall for the village while the crew continues glazing his skills. A giant monster boar suddenly emerges from the darkness behind them. Things turn dangerous the moment they realize a much larger threat has arrived. Jorg shoves his companion out of the way just as the beast lunges. The monster charges forward with its jaws wide open. Rid screams for his father as the giant boar strikes. A heavy blow sends Georg reeling while he desperately tries to draw his blade. Jorg stands his ground and orders the hunters to get Rid to safety. Our boy can only watch in terror, wondering if there's anything he can even do to help. The giant boar charges straight for his father as Rid desperately searches for a way to help. He reaches a breaking point and decides he is the one who has to protect his family. Our MC lets out a massive scream for the beast to stop. A magic circle glows on his throat as his hidden power finally explodes. The monster actually skids to a halt, leaving the hunters completely speechless. They cannot believe the massive beast just stopped in its tracks. Rid doubles down, pointing his hand and ordering the monster to leave. He is completely locked in, commanding the beast with every bit of magic he has left. The boar actually listens and turns tail to head back into the forest. It is a clean getaway, leaving the entire group in stunned silence. Jorg and the others rush over in total shock that the kid just used magic. Rid starts coughing as the strain hits him, his throat feeling like it is on fire. The hunters erupt into a cheer for our boy. One of them asks if he really just used magic on the fly. Jorg cannot stop praising his son for saving his life. The man is clearly riding a high after the rescue. Magic actually came out when it mattered most. Meanwhile, the group starts questioning how he cast a spell without any chant. The mystery deepens as nobody remembers hearing a single word. Our MC is starting to realize his power is just built different. The story continues back at the house. Georg is already retelling the highlights to the mother. His parents are laying on the praise, calling it the fruit of all his hard work. Rid can only sit there as they keep hyping him up. Jorg is still on his hero arc, calling our MC the pride of his life. His dad has been acting like this since the second they got home. His mom pulls him into a hug and tells him to show her his magic again next time. He agrees, but secretly admits he has no clue how he actually did it. He tries to force it at home with a book, but nothing happens even with a chant. It feels like there is some hidden trick he just has not figured out yet. Jorg starts getting ready while suggesting that Rid might be able to get into a place called Willemfoot. The name is a mystery to both the mother and our boy. Willemfoot turns out to be a massive school for mages. Most kids start at 6, but the entrance exam is the real hurdle. Since Rid is already 3, he is technically old enough to apply. The prospect of a magic school has him genuinely excited. He is ready to enroll right now. If he can master this power at school, he can finally repay his parents for everything. He realizes that his magic is more than just a party trick. This power is the only hope for saving his fallen house from a disaster. He is officially locked in. Our boy is going to master this power to bring back the Springfield wealth and show the world what his family is made of. This is all for them. Welcome to Glassheim, the royal capital. Our boy is officially losing it because this place looks exactly like a high-budget fantasy game. Jorg asks if the city is lively enough for him. Rid is glued to the window, blown away by just how massive the capital is compared to their home in the forest. A few days after his magic debut, they said goodbye to Mom and started the long journey for the Magic Academy entrance exam. The scenery is top tier, but Rid seems a bit conflicted about something. This crowded city bustle gives him major flashbacks to his past life as a corporate drone. He realizes he likes the quiet life back home way better. Jorg is beaming with pride, calling his son a dependable future lord. The carriage finally pulls up to the destination. The Magic Academy is officially in sight. Rid finally reaches the Magic Academy and he is feeling the pressure. He is locked in, determined to pass the exam and make his family proud. Jorg swings the doors open with a polite greeting to the crowd. He is all smiles and ready to kick things off. The room is full of noble families, but the vibe is immediately awkward. People are already whispering about the magicless Springfield family and the rumors of a child with a crest. A smug noble named Duke Valverde steps up to talk some trash. He mocks the family before bragging about his own son being 3 years old. The Duke asks what they are even doing there if they have no magic. Georg stands his ground, letting him know they have a very good reason to attend. Jorg puts his hands on his son's shoulders with a proud look. He reveals that Rid actually possesses magic power, which definitely catches the Duke off guard. The Duke gives Rid a nasty look, scanning him like a piece of equipment. Our MC feels like he is being appraised by a total creep. Duke Valverde scoffs at the timing of everything, smelling something fishy. He thinks it is way too convenient that a magic user appeared right when the family was about to lose their title. He even questions if our boy is actually an adopted kid, which catches Rid off guard. Jorg is not taking that disrespect and steps up to defend his family. He shuts down the rumors about the dormant bloodline, declaring that Rid is his actual son. The Duke cannot believe a mere Viscount is trying to talk back to him. Just as the tension peaks, a loud call for silence echoes through the hall. A tall, elderly man with a massive white beard enters the room to finally start the entrance exam. Everyone immediately recognizes him as Lord Theodore, the Academy's headmaster. The entire vibe of the room shifts the moment the headmaster takes the stage. Even the arrogant Duke shuts his mouth and listens, proving this old man is on a whole different level. The headmaster officially welcomes all the aspiring magicians to Willemfoot Magic Academy. He looks out over the crowd, calling them the future of magic. He talks about the rich history of the academy and the legendary magicians who have trained there. His goal is for the students to gain the knowledge and experience needed to master their craft. The headmaster gets straight to business, announcing that the entrance exam is officially starting with the magic power measurement. Rid looks on as the mysterious staff is finally revealed. The Icona family is called up first, and a nervous young girl makes her way to the front. Our boy observes the process, wondering if this test is simply measuring their innate mana levels. Lord Theodore gives the girl a reassuring smile to help settle her nerves. He tells her that everything is fine and asks her to reach out and touch the staff. The staff glows with a bright light, earning the girl a second-class magic rank. Her mother looks proud of the result while the headmaster gives the child a gentle pat on the head. Rid starts analyzing the grading system as more students take their turn. He realizes that the headmaster is ranking everyone based on the intensity of the light. Another student walks away looking completely crushed after receiving a 4th-class rank. It is clear that the higher the rank, the more magic power a person possesses. The mood in the room shifts when the Valverde family is finally called to the front. The Duke lets out a smug laugh, looking like he is already prepared to celebrate a victory. The Duke gives his son a cold order not to embarrass him as the boy steps up to the staff. A bright burst of light confirms he is no joke. Lord Theodore announces a 1st-class rank, which is basically the peak for a kid his age. The Duke just smirks, acting like his elite genes did all the work. This man really starts glazing himself, saying his son is almost as good as he is. Our boy just watches the awkward scene, wishing the dad would actually praise his kid. Pissarro remains stone-faced despite the top-tier result. Now, the moment everyone has been waiting for finally arrives. The Springfield name is called, and our boy feels his heart racing as his turn arrives. Georg tells him it is time to move, but Rid decides he is going to walk to the stage solo. He looks back and tells his father not to worry with a calm smile. He is ready to handle this on his own. As he climbs the stairs, his mind is racing about the family reputation. He knows a low rank will make his father a permanent laughingstock for the other nobles. Rid is done with the disrespect. He looks straight ahead, determined to make sure nobody ever laughs at his dad again. Stepping up to the staff, he takes a deep, steadying breath to calm his racing heart. Reaching out, he thinks back to all those hours spent in the library. Regardless of his natural talent, he is ready to give it everything he has. Contact with the staff triggers an immediate reaction. A blinding explosion of light erupts, completely swallowing the entire hall. Stunned silence fills the room as everyone tries to process what they just witnessed. Even the headmaster is shaken, realizing he is standing in the middle of a historic event. Lord Theodore looks at our boy with pure awe. He officially certifies him as a special class magic rank, a level of power only seen once in 100 years. The crowd is absolutely buzzing with shock, but Rid is just confused. He has no clue what special class even means, but judging by the faces in the room, he just broke the entire scale. Duke Valverde is losing it, screaming that the entire result is a total sham. Georg is not taking that disrespect and demands to know exactly what he is trying to imply. The salt is real as Valverde rants about how his noble bloodline could never be inferior to a name like Springfield. The other nobles in the background start whispering, convinced there must be some kind of trick involved. Getting right in his face, the Duke sneers that a low-born, talentless incompetent like Georg could never produce a special-class magician. He is basically calling the whole family a failure to their faces. Our boy has heard enough of this guy. He watches the old man yap with a look that says his patience has officially hit zero. Looking back at his dad's kind smile, he decides he does not care how great a duke thinks he is. Georg is a hero to his people and a father to be proud of, and Rid is not letting that slander slide. He takes a step forward with a cold stare that could freeze a dragon. He tells the duke to take back every single word he just said. Georg can only watch in shock while Valverde just laughs at the kid's audacity. He thinks it is hilarious that neither the father nor the son knows how to watch their mouth. A heavy silence falls over the hall as our boy casts his special cursed magic and commands the Duke to be silent. Duke Valverde starts hacking like he has something stuck in his throat while his son watches in shock. The man can barely even look Rid in the eye. Staring them down, Rid makes it clear that this disrespect ends right here. He is not letting anyone walk over his family again. Lord Theodore finally steps in and puts a stop to the drama. He shuts everyone down with a sharp command to end the conflict. Rid goes quiet as the adrenaline starts to fade. He looks down, trying to process the intense energy he just released. He wonders what exactly just came over him. That surge of power felt different from anything he has practiced in the library. The Duke is still coughing his lungs out as he prepares to head for the door. It is a pretty bad look for a guy who was just talking so much trash. Our boy is still processing that intense glare he got from the Duke as the old man stomps away. Theodore admits he never thought he would see true magic again in his lifetime. Rid is quick to show his manners, thanking the headmaster for stepping in before things got even messier. It has been a full century since Theodore last saw magic like this, and everyone is officially losing their minds. Georg is stuck on the terminology, questioning if this really is magic and not just typical sorcery. Theodore does not waste time and drops a heavy proposal right on the table. A sudden chill hits the room as the headmaster drops a serious truth bomb. Rid is essentially a walking ticking time bomb since he cannot control the raw power he is packing. Looking back at the boar incident, Rid realizes the headmaster is spot on about his lack of control. Every time he has let loose, it was accidental and triggered by pure instinct. Even the Duke looked like he was about to meet his maker if Theodore hadn't broken the kid's focus. Theodore decides the only way forward is for Rid to start special control training immediately. Georg is worried about how they are supposed to find someone capable of teaching such a rare gift. Rid knows he has to figure this out, or he might accidentally put his own family in harm's way. The headmaster has just the person in mind, claiming they are the perfect fit for a wild talent like Rid. He describes them as young and a bit of a klutz, but their magical knowledge is the real deal. Our boy is already imagining some kind of legend. Just as the tension peaks, a new set of boots clicks across the stone floor. Theodore calls out the name Kodelka as the new tutor officially enters the building. Kodelka Liliano makes her grand entrance with a polite bow. She introduces herself to the group and pays her respects to Georg. Our boy is frozen in place. He stares at the girl who is officially his new teacher. The new tutor stands ready in the open field, announcing it is time to start. Rid is hyped, addressing her formally as his teacher while she prepares to dive into the first lesson. The new title seems to have hit home for her. She gets a look of pure motivation, admitting she is officially fired up to be his mentor. Seeing him so stiff, she asks if he is feeling the nerves and tells him to drop the formalities. The kid admits he is feeling a bit of the pressure. A massive age reveal follows as she casually mentions being a 137-year-old elf. Rid is absolutely reeling from the triple-digit number, while she suggests he just call her Ku-chan to build some trust. Settling on a compromise, he calls her Ku-chan sensei before pivoting straight to the magic. He is curious about the mechanics, asking her exactly how sorcery is performed. She loves the enthusiasm and explains that sorcery relies on spoken incantations. It is time for a live demonstration as she gets her staff ready. The head of her staff begins to glow as the chant begins. She calls on her magic to transform into a scorching vortex of flames. Rid is blown away by the sight of a massive fire tornado spiraling into the sky. This is the actual power of sorcery he has been looking for. Ku-chan breaks down the science, explaining that he needs to visualize the spell and need his mana before speaking. She points out that a magic stone in the staff helps keep things stable. It finally clicks for our boy. He was just reading the words out loud like a regular book, which is why nothing ever happened. He is done waiting on the sidelines and asks if he can finally take a crack at it. The tutor hands over the staff, and Rid feels the weight of his family legacy. He is one step closer to making the Springfield name great again. He focuses inward, needing his energy and visualizing the flame just like he was taught. Every bit of his power goes into creating that scorching vortex. The heat starts rising in his throat as the spell takes hold. He shouts the command and prepares for the fire to erupt from his staff. The vibe gets awkward when nothing happens, despite Rid giving it his all. He is left staring at the staff in confusion until Ku-chan drops a lore bomb about records from a century ago. She hits him with the cold hard truth that his body just is not built for sorcery. Apparently, that glowing mark on his neck is strictly a no-fly zone for standard incantations. Our boy is having a full-blown identity crisis, wondering what all that power from before even was if it was not sorcery. She tells him to relax because while sorcery is off the table, he is actually using something called magic. It is a subtle distinction, but he is definitely listening now. She gets way too hyped up, basically vibrating with excitement as she calls magic a wonderful thing. Rid can only sweat and nod along as she invades his personal space. It turns out her 10 years of research finally paid off by finding a real magic user in the wild. She explains that magic is an ancient power that handles the heavy stuff like hexes and curses. After catching her breath and apologizing for the fangirl moment, she decides it is time for a live test. She picks up a small stone from the grass and gets ready to see what he can really do. Kudelka tosses a stone into the air and tells our boy to get ready. She wants him to visualize the rock catching fire and simply command it to burn. Rid watches the stone fly with a nervous look, wondering if he can actually pull this off. For now, he decides to trust her and follow the instructions. He shouts the command and the stone instantly bursts into flames. Our boy is stunned that it worked on the very first try. Kudelka is hyped that he succeeded immediately. She mentions hearing that he was a studious kid, and this is clearly the result of all that effort. She leans in close with a serious look, calling his talent astonishing even among elite mages. She wonders if he is actually a cursing word user, which leaves Rid confused. Rid is clueless about the term, which sends her into a state of shock. She cannot believe he has never heard of it, especially as a descendant of the legendary hero, Luke Springfield. The name Luke starts to sound familiar as Rid searches his memories. He thinks back to the time his father mentioned that legendary figure. Jorg shows off a portrait of the family legend. This absolute unit apparently built their house from the ground up, going from a commoner to a duke in one generation. Our boy starts putting the pieces together. He realizes that since the family went 100 years without a magic user, the actual history probably got watered down. Legend says the ancestor Luke was a total cheat code. He used god-tier magic and cursing words to bring peace to the whole country, not just his own territory. Rid touches his throat, feeling the weight of that legacy. He wonders if he really inherited the same insane power that made his ancestor a hero. With a proud little smile, he realizes he finally made some real progress. Thanks to his new teacher, he successfully used a cursing word on his own for the first time. He is hyped to keep the momentum going. No slowing down now that the first step to making his parents proud is in the bag. As night falls, the crew heads inside for a family feast. The tutor is already in love with the food, and Mom is just happy her cooking is such a hit. Kudelka is absolutely inhaling the food. She praises the simple but delicious meal while Mom beams with pride. Jorg and Mom are stunned by the massive appetite of their new guest. They reassure her that there is plenty of food to go around, though they clearly weren't expecting this level of hunger. Rid remembers the headmaster offering a tuition-free deal in exchange for room and board. It seemed like a win at first, but now he is starting to see the catch. Kudelka holds out an empty plate for yet another round. Rid realizes the grocery bill might actually end up costing more than the school fees. Even with the high food cost, Rid appreciates that she treats him like a regular kid instead of a noble. She confidently claims she can handle 2 more bowls as the family watches her in total shock. Classroom time has finally arrived. Kudelka sets the stage for today's lesson by diving into the core differences between sorcery and magic. Rid notes that the word magic is rarely used in this world, so the distinction must be huge. Kudelka gets ready to break down the broad concepts for him. Sorcery uses logic and laws to guide energy, while magic is a straight-up reality-warping mystery. Our boy draws a total blank on the complex explanation, forcing her to keep it simple. Magic is just on a whole other level because it makes the impossible happen. She confirms that his cursing words fall into that god-tier magic category. It is time for a quick review of everything they covered recently. Rid breaks it down as putting power into speech to control objects. It is basically forced domination that works on anything, from simple items to living humans. Koudelka heaps on the praise for how fast he is picking things up. He gets a gold star for his perfect explanation. She starts taking all the credit, giving herself a perfect score for her teaching skills. Rid just looks on, still waiting for any kind of praise for the actual student. Jokes aside, her knowledge of both theory and practice is the real deal. She is proving to be a reliable and high-quality mentor for his growth. Rid raises his hand with total excitement, telling her he is ready to learn everything she has to offer. She is down to teach him the ropes, but the vibe shifts as she brings up a serious old saying. She needs to know exactly what kind of person he is before they go any further. Koudelka lays it out straight, warning him that his power is a double-edged sword. One path leads to him being a hero, while the other turns him into a grim reaper. Without a clear path, power just becomes a calamity. Rid listens in silence as the gravity of his situation starts to sink in. He realizes that even a joke about someone dying could turn into a permanent nightmare. The magic mark on his throat is a constant reminder of the weight his words now carry. The teacher locks eyes with him, demanding an honest answer. She wants to know the real purpose behind his desire for power. Our boy clenches his fists, steeling his resolve for the big reveal. He has exactly one reason for wanting to get stronger. Rid puts his heart on the line and reveals he wants to use his power to help his parents. The teacher is caught off guard by such a selfless motivation. He explains that they have been struggling for a long time since they do not have any magic power. Our boy is ready to carry the weight of his family on his shoulders. Back in the day, they were broke and constantly disrespected by the other nobles. They were even on the verge of losing their noble title for good. His main mission is clear. He is going to restore the Springfield family name and finally make his parents proud. The teacher thinks it is a very human goal to want to protect his family. Rid gets a little shy and asks if it is weird, but she assures him that living for others is the right path. She gives him a head pat and awards him 5 points for his kindness. It is a small start, and the bond between them is growing. He is a bit bummed. It is not a perfect 100, but she laughs it off. Getting a full score will depend on how much work he puts in from here on out. Jorg sprints through the woods, calling out to find his family. Something is clearly wrong. He finds his wife and child collapsed in the grass, both of them gasping for air. He panics, begging them to pull themselves together. His wife manages to whisper his name while the little guy just sobs in the dirt. This shows just how close they came to losing everything. Lunchtime at the Springfield house, Mom checks in on the progress and Koudelka gives our boy a glowing review for catching on fast. Rid just grins, soaking up the praise like a pro. Koudelka keeps it real though, pointing out that his toddler body can't actually handle his massive mana yet. Rid tries to defend his honor, promising to work on his cardio between magic sessions. Mom just wants him to have a good time and reminds him not to overdo it. He gives her a solid promise to take it easy. Deep down, Rid knows his cursed speech still has a massive cooldown issue. He's determined to grind until he can spam his abilities without breaking a sweat. Mom promises a massive feast since Dad is out hunting, but the cozy vibes are instantly killed. Someone is hammering on the door like their life depends on it. A frantic man bursts in looking for Lord Gorg, carrying his unconscious daughter. His wife is right behind him, looking like she's about to drop. They were just out picking vegetables in the forest when both of them suddenly collapsed. Mom doesn't waste a second and tells them to get inside immediately. They get the family settled into the guest room. The daughter is out cold, while her father watches over her, and his wife is not doing any better in the next bed over. Koudelka is confused why they did not just head to a hospital. Mom explains they are in such a remote area that a proper clinic is a luxury they just do not have. Since there is no way to call for help, this house is the only lifeline the villagers have. The Springfield family is the only group with the resources to send a carriage for a real doctor. The father is losing it, watching both his wife and daughter suffer. On the other side, these weird, dark bruises are crawling across their skin like they have a life of their own. Our boy gets a bad vibe from the marks, feeling a dark energy radiating off them. Mom wants to call the doctor immediately, but Koudelka shuts that down real quick. She steps up and readies her staff, calling for her magic to turn into a purifying light. She is not just healing, she is trying to blast a curse right off them. She drops the anti-curse, and a thick black mist starts leaking out of their bodies. As the darkness fades, the girl finally starts breathing easy again. The atmosphere shifts as Koudelka explains she just performed a high-level dispel on a necromancer curse. The realization of what they are up against hits Rid like a truck. The connection between his own power and this dark magic starts to click. He realizes his cursed speech and this monster ability share the same dangerous roots. Koudelka warns that her magic was just a temporary fix. A curse is a life or death contract that only ends when the caster is taken down. To save the village family, they have to find the source. Since the victims were in the forest, the mastermind is definitely still out there among the trees. Our boy suddenly remembers his father and the hunters are out in those same woods. He knows he has to move fast to keep them from becoming the next victims. Koudelka recognizes the urgency and asks him to guide her through the territory. He is all in, ready to lead the rescue mission. They make their way into the dense forest under a heavy atmosphere. Koudelka tries to keep his spirits up by bragging about her own skills as they walk. Our boy asks if his cursed speech is related to the dark magic they just dealt with. Koudelka realizes his concern and starts to set the record straight. She explains that his power uses ancient words and has nothing to do with those harmful curses. As long as he uses it right, he has nothing to fear, which is a massive weight off his shoulders. He asks what kind of monsters actually use that dark energy. Koudelka notes they are usually the tragic remains of the undead. The lesson is interrupted by a low growl from the brush. Rid spots something and immediately points into the thick trees. He spots his father and sprints toward the clearing. Georg is standing his ground with a sword, but he is already looking rough and covered in scratches. The hunters check in on each other as the pack closes in. Suddenly, a wolf lunges from the shadows with its jaws wide open. He doesn't hesitate and activates his power. With a loud shout, he commands the beast to fall. The wolf hits the ground hard, neutralized before it can even finish its growl. Jorg stares in disbelief as his son rushes into the clearing. Rid lets out a final shout to stop the attack while his tutor keeps her pace right behind him. Things are still looking grim. Georg is struggling to keep his footing, and the sheer number of enemies makes a single target strategy impossible. The pack fans out to surround them completely. One by one is not going to work, so he needs a way to clear the field in a single move. A fire spell would be the quickest fix, but the risk of burning down the entire forest is way too high. Koudelka steps in to handle the heavy lifting. She chants for the wind to answer her call, summoning a pixie to the front lines. The summons streak across the battlefield like flashes of light. They slice through the pack with surgical precision, ending the threat in a single clean sweep. Jorg is stunned by the summons and asks if it was real summoning magic. Rid is basically her biggest fan at this point. While Koudelka casually thanks the pixies for their help, the hunters finally catch their breath and thank the group for the save. Koudelka plays it cool and tells them not to mention it. Jorg gives Rid a well-deserved head pat and praises his performance. Our boy is just happy to be useful to his old man. The mood shifts when Georg questions why these black dogs are in the area. Koudelka agrees that between the curses and the wolves, something is definitely off. Koudelka asks Jorg if he knows any monsters that use curses nearby. He seems to have a lead, mentioning a story he heard from back in the day. He explains that before the family ruled this land, a magician turned into a cursed spirit. Their power was so insane they had to be sealed deep in the forest. Koudelka realizes the curse was the work of a vengeful spirit. Apparently, when a magician dies with a massive grudge, they transform into these monsters. A person turning into a monster because of a grudge is a lot for Rid to wrap his head around. Jorg starts barking orders even though he is covered in wounds. He wants the group to retreat while he checks the seal alone. Koudelka thinks he is crazy for trying to go solo. Georg insists the situation is too urgent to wait because the whole domain is at risk. The group tries to talk some sense into him. Koudelka warns that he is in no condition to fight and needs medical attention before he collapses. That is when Rid steps up with a bold plan. He tells his father to lead everyone back, deciding it is finally time for him to take action. Jorg is completely blindsided by the request. He tries to block him because of the danger, but Rid reminds everyone that he is the one with the cursed speech. Our boy is fully locked in. He has been training his magic for this exact moment, and now he is ready to protect his family at any cost. Jorg is clearly hesitant, but Rid is holding his ground. He tells his dad he is just going to check on the sealing stone and that his cursed speech is ready for prime time. Koudelka backs him up, reminding everyone that she is there to keep an eye on things. Georg finally caves, admitting that the kid has a point. Jorg drops down to eye level as the reality of his injuries sets in. Between the wounds and the fatigue, he can barely even stand, much less fight. Seeing the determination in his son, Georg places a hand on his shoulder. He finally gives his blessing and leaves the mission in the boy's hands. The deal is sealed, but not without one last warning to play it safe and avoid any unnecessary risks. Rid just beams with excitement, ready to prove himself. Back in the woods, the duo begins their search for the sealing stone. They keep their eyes peeled while hoping they are heading in the right direction. The atmosphere turns heavy as they trek through the thick trees. That ominous pressure in the air is starting to get way stronger. Koudelka breaks down the lore on cursed spirits, explaining they are basically just ghosts. The only real difference is whether they started as a human or a monster. Our boy is definitely feeling the pressure, admitting he used to dodge horror games back in his old life. Apparently zombies and ghosts were always his biggest weakness. Koudelka cannot help but tease him, asking if the big tough magic user is actually scared of spirits. Rid tries to play it cool, but his baby face is totally giving him away. They finally track down the sealing stone, but it is a total wreck. Seeing the clean cuts, it is obvious someone smashed this thing on purpose. Koudelka shouts a warning as a teleportation circle appears beneath her. She realizes it is a trap, just as Rid calls out her name in a panic. The hooded man laughs as he watches his spell work perfectly. He explains that separating the two was necessary since fighting them together would be a total pain. A pack of monsters appears to back up the mysterious caster. Rid finally realizes this is the guy who orchestrated the entire attack on his dad, demanding to know who the stranger is and why he is doing this. The hooded man just scoffs and says he is a mercenary magician for hire. No hard feelings here as the dude makes it clear he is just trying to secure the bag. The mage calls for a cursed spirit and points right at our boy. He is being offered up as a sacrifice as the magician taunts the monster about its hate for nobles. An enormous skeletal spirit manifests with a bone-chilling shriek as the Reaper himself comes for the kid. The scene opens in a dark forest clearing where the mercenary stands tall beside the skeletal phantom he just unleashed. Rid watches in shock as the spirit lets out a bone-chilling moan. Our boy can feel the hatred and bloodlust radiating off the monster even from this distance. It is like the ghost is trying to suffocate him with its presence alone. Rid asks if this guy is the one behind the attacks on the territory. The hooded mage just smirks and says he simply cracked open the sealing stone. According to the mage, this thing is just a vessel for revenge. It has a natural instinct to hunt down and destroy any noble it sees. This leaves our MC confused. He wonders why a spirit would have such a specific grudge against people of his status. The mercenary laughs and says the ghost's motives do not really matter. He was hired to get rid of Rid, so this partnership is a match made in heaven. With a sharp gesture, the mage points his finger and commands the Reaper to strike. He tells the spirit that its long-awaited noble sacrifice is standing right in front of it. No time for games. Rid shouts the command to burn, and the skeleton is instantly swallowed by a pillar of fire. The flames vanish as quickly as they appeared. Only a bit of smoke rises from the monster's cloak as it stands there unaffected. Reality hits hard. Our boy is genuinely shook because his cursed word was erased like it was nothing. The Reaper starts laughing, mocking the failed spell. A terrifying scream follows as the ghost focuses all its hatred on the young noble. Black shadowy tendrils start creeping across the floor. If that dark energy touches him, it is game over. A heavy slab of stone slams into the earth. The wall blocks the shadows just in time, giving him a small window to counter. This time, the attack connects. Rid shouts for the earth to pierce his target, and jagged spikes erupt from the ground to skewer the skeleton. Rid collapses in a coughing fit as his body starts to fail him. The Reaper just laughs while our boy's throat feels like it is being ripped apart. Using cursed words in a 3-year-old body is basically like trying to run a high-end game on a potato laptop. The stamina drain is way too much, and he is reaching his limit fast. The Reaper screams for him to die as the shadows close in. With his voice gone and his body paralyzed, he can only watch as his life flashes before his eyes. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a strange vision. A smug noble looks down at a group of commoners locked in stocks like they are nothing more than trash. Our MC realizes he is witnessing someone else's memory. This noble dude is preaching about how magic power should be a luxury for the upper class only. Pure elitist energy, he claims that only his own family has the right to use magic in this territory, leaving the local mages with zero hope. The name Bernard finally clicks for Rid. He remembers that they were the original rulers of this forest before his own family took over. Lord Bernard points a finger and demands execution. He screams for the girl with magic power to be burned at the stake for treason, sentencing her entire family to death for their supposed crimes. The parents desperately plead for mercy while their daughter watches in horror. The mother begs through tears for them to at least spare her child. Her cries go unanswered as the scene fades into a wall of roaring flames. Back in the present, our boy realizes the vision he just saw was the Reaper's final memory. The spirit hovers before him, still whispering its hatred for the noble class that destroyed its life. Heartbroken by the truth, Rid looks down at the ground, realizing innocent people were sacrificed just to satisfy the greed of a tyrannical lord. He struggles to his feet, unable to find it in his heart to keep fighting. This spirit isn't actually evil, and he knows he can't honestly tell it to stop holding a grudge against people who treated it like trash. Instead of attacking, our MC reaches out his hand. He uses his cursed speech not to dominate but to offer a sincere apology for trying to burn the spirit earlier. The mana drain hits him hard, sending him into a coughing fit as the Reaper stares in shock. If cursed speech can force a command, he figures it should also be able to bridge the gap and convey his genuine feelings. Rid reaches out a hand to the spirit, promising to bear the weight of its sorrow himself. He's determined to end this cycle of pain once and for all. Their hands connect as he makes a solemn vow. He swears that the tragedy of the past will never be repeated in this land. The mana drain hits him hard, leaving him doubled over in a coughing fit. While he struggles for breath, the skeletal Reaper begins to dissolve, revealing the girl it used to be. She offers a final peaceful smile to the boy who saved her. "Thank you, kind noble," she whispers, her spirit finally fading away into the light. Our MC is completely spent, gasping for air on the forest floor. Suddenly, the hooded magician returns to the clearing, looking around in a panic after his main weapon vanishes. The villain just scoffs at the sight of him. He doesn't think a tired kid can do a single thing to stop him now. Rid's throat is absolutely shredded, making it almost impossible to use his cursed speech again. The magician lunges forward with a smirk, but a sharp voice suddenly cuts his celebration short. Kudelka teleports into the clearing just in time, stepping out of a glowing magic circle to shield our MC. She offers a calm smile as she tells Rid that everything is fine now. The hooded villain is losing his mind, unable to believe she crossed a month-sized distance in mere seconds. Kudelka ignores his panic, happily giving Rid a gold star for surviving the encounter. Facing down the mercenary, Kudelka brags that such high-level magic is a piece of cake for her. The villain can only sigh at her arrogance, realizing his plans have officially hit a major roadblock. She begins a savage audit of his performance, deducting points for his cowardice and terrible taste in spirits. By the time she points her staff at him, she has failed him with a score of -100. Pushed to the edge, the magician pours all his mana into a desperate final attack. A massive dragon made of living flames erupts from the ground, roaring as it prepares to incinerate them. Rid stares in terror at the towering fire beast, but Kudelka just scoffs. She is not the least bit intimidated by what he calls a trump card. Gripping her staff with both hands, she decides it is time to show him what real fire magic looks like. She begins her own chant, calling for the primordial flames to gather. Kudelka calls on the primordial spirit of fire to reveal itself. It is time for Ifrit to join the party. A massive fire demon towers over the clearing, looking ready to end the magician's whole career. The tables have officially turned. The mercenary is having a midlife crisis, seeing a first-class summon in the wild. Even our boy can't believe the level of power his teacher is packing. It's reunion time as the family finally gets back together. The relief of being safe again is hitting hard. While the villagers celebrate their safety, Kudelka is ready to crash after carrying the entire team on her back. Saving the day is exhausting work. They have the villain tied up and ready for questions, but it looks like a dead end. This man was just a mercenary and knows absolutely nothing about his employer. Theodore checks in on the crew. Georg looks worn out, but relieved. They decide to hand the mercenary over to the royal army. No point in guessing without proof. Rid touches his magic crest and reflects on the battle. This brush with death proved he is still a rookie. Reality hits hard over dinner. A toddler body just cannot handle a massive mana pool. Protecting his family will take a lot more work. Mastering cursed speech is now priority number 1. The group enjoys a quiet moment together. Rid knows he cannot reach his goals on effort alone. The Magic Academy towers in the distance. Proper education is the only way forward. The challenges are stacking up, but he is not backing down. For the sake of his family, he vows to master this power. 3 years fly by in a flash. Dressed to impress, his official journey at the Magic Academy is finally starting. The 3-year time skip is finally over and our boy is officially heading out. Waving goodbye in front of the family carriage, Rid tells his parents he is finally off. His mom is doing way too much, listing every rule from eating his vegetables to sending regular letters. Georg tells her to relax while Rid just smiles at the motherly concern. Jorg pulls him in for a final talk, acknowledging how strong his son has grown. He is confident that no matter the challenge, Rid will overcome it. Looking at his father with determination, our MC vows to surpass him one day. Georg marvels at how much his son has matured while Kudelka watches the moment from the side. It is time for one last thank you to his mentor. Rid gives Kuchan sensei a deep bow for all the training that got him ready for this journey. She formally ends their tutor relationship, wishing him even more growth at the academy. Our MC has eyes glowing with excitement as he prepares for the next chapter. The carriage starts rolling away as the whole squad waves goodbye. Leaning out the window, our boy makes a silent promise to become a splendid mage. Standing before the huge gates, our boy realizes the big day is finally here. Inside the academy, he keeps walking while taking in the new surroundings. Magic is everywhere here, even in the enchanted portraits that wave at passersby. A mysterious voice from behind mentions these were all honor students back in the day. Meet Katia Ikona, a shy girl who seems a bit nervous to speak up. She recognizes him immediately as the kid who crushed the magic measurement test. After Rid gives his name, Katia points out a graduate who might be related to him. Our boy stops in his tracks when he spots a portrait of a legendary figure from the past. Turns out he is staring right at his ancestor, Luke Springfield. Katia mentions that throat crests like theirs are super rare since most people have them on their hands or chest. Rid realizes Luke was a cursed speech user just like him. Records show Luke was a legend who went from commoner to duke using his unique magic. While Katia is impressed by how he saved his territory, Rid finds the old text a little too formal to follow. He finally connects the dots, noticing this version of Luke looks way younger than the portrait back home. It hits him hard that his ancestor was already out here saving lives while he was still a student. Kudelka snaps back into teacher mode and warns him not to expect any special favors. Our MC gets all flustered and promises he was not looking for a handout anyway. She signals the group to fall in for the official campus tour. The students follow close behind as she leads them through the grand halls of the academy. As they walk past the dormitories, Rid still cannot wrap his head around the situation. Having his former tutor as his homeroom teacher was definitely not on his bingo card for the first day. Our boy is straight up dying of cringe. He really thought that heartfelt goodbye was the series finale, only for his mentor to show up as his homeroom teacher. The gossip mill is already spinning at top speed. People are already whispering about how his family is supposed to be magicless, making him the center of some unwanted attention. Rumors about his special grade rank and the beef with Duke Valverde have spread like wildfire. The other students are basically treating him like a walking urban legend before he even attends his first class. Standing out for all the wrong reasons has everyone keeping their distance. Just as the mood turns sour, Katia pops up to break the ice and point something out. They look out the window to find the upperclassmen having the time of their lives in flight class. It is a total main character moment watching them zoom around on brooms like it is nothing. Our MC appreciates how Katia treats him like a normal person instead of some kind of freak of nature. Meanwhile, someone in the crowd is definitely throwing some serious shade with a silent stare. The tour moves into the courtyard, which is a popular chill spot for students to grab lunch and hang out. Kudelka leads the group past the cafeteria as she continues showing them the ropes. Kudelka announces the next stop on the tour is the library, while Rid stays curious about the school's massive book collection. A sudden voice calls out to catch our boy's attention. They find a familiar-looking student standing in the middle of the hallway. Our boy tilts his head, not quite placing the face just yet. The boy reveals his name is Pizarro Valverde. The reveal hits like a truck, leaving everyone in shock. Rid is stunned by the name, flashing back to a memory of the boy as a toddler yelling at his father. He realizes that the Duke's son has ended up in his same class. Pizarro steps up and addresses Rid by name. Katia explains that the Valverde family is highly distinguished, with famous older brothers who are currently students at the academy. A brief flashback shows the Duke's arrogant laughter as he brags about his family's status. Pizarro clenches his fist and warns them to keep his brothers out of this. He points a finger at our boy to make things personal. Pizarro points a finger and claims the whole thing is a scam. He finds it impossible for a special grade mage to come from a magicless family like the Springfields. He throws down a direct challenge for our boy to prove his power on the spot. Our boy realizes that standing out during the test has made him a primary target for this dude's saltiness. Rid tries to play it safe by reminding him that magic duels are against the rules. Pizarro just scoffs and asks if he is simply too weak to actually use it. Ignoring the consequences, Pizarro starts charging up a lightning spell right there in the open. Our MC can only watch as the mana begins to crackle with intent. He lets the thunderbolt fly, forcing Rid to react instantly. With a single command to vanish, the entire attack shatters into nothing before it can hit anyone. Instead of being mad his attack failed, Pizarro just smirks. He finally got the proof he was looking for. Our boy steps up and tells Katia to stay back. He is not letting her get caught in the crossfire. Pizarro isn't holding back. Launching a fireball with everything he has, Rid just casually drops a fall command and snuffs the flames out instantly. This dude is getting seriously triggered. He refuses to lose again and starts revving up some high-level lightning magic. The attacks are coming in hot and accurate. Our MC is stuck on the defensive, barely dodging the constant barrage of bolts. Our boy tries to play the diplomat, begging him to stop before they both get expelled. Pizarro isn't buying it and just looks even more offended. Pizarro goes full tilt, screaming about being made a fool of. Before he can land another hit, Rid drops a catch command and a massive stone hand sprouts from the ground. The giant hand snags Pizarro mid-air, finally shutting him down. Just as the boy tries to talk him down, he gets blasted back by the force of the struggle. Pizarro is wheezing after that massive exchange while Katia rushes over to check on our boy. Rid is barely holding it together on the ground. Our MC realizes he messed up by trying to use cursed speech while already low on juice. Pizarro catches on fast, noticing his opponent is finally out of mana. This dude is done playing games and starts marching over to finish the job physically. He is ready to use his bare hands to crush whatever is left of Rid's pride. Stuck on the floor, our boy feels his limit fast approaching. He wonders if he even has enough energy left to pull off one last command. Back against the wall, he knows he has to find a way to stop this rampage before it gets worse. He tries to force his body to move one more time. Just as Pizarro goes for the finishing blow, a familiar face shuts the whole thing down. Kudelka steps in out of nowhere, catching his fist mid-air with a single hand. The mood shifts instantly as their mentor starts dropping the hammer. She reminds them that using magic for a brawl like this comes with some heavy consequences. Katia tries to step in and plead his case, but the mentor shuts it down before she can even start. Using magic was the line they weren't supposed to cross, and there's no changing that fact now. She calls them both out by their full names. The atmosphere shifts instantly from a brawl to a formal judgment as they wait for the verdict. The worst-case scenario just became a reality. Because they broke the academy rules, Kudelka announces that they are both officially expelled. It feels like the end of the road for our boy, as Kudelka drops the expulsion word, leaving everyone stunned as the realization of their mistake sinks in. Our boy is especially devastated, thinking his dream of academy life is dead on arrival. Katia tries to step in and plead their case, arguing that immediate expulsion is way too harsh for a first offense. Pizarro is just frozen in place, looking like his world just collapsed. Desperation kicks in as both boys start begging for a second chance. Rid promises to follow every single rule from now on, while Pizarro is terrified of what his brothers will think if he gets kicked out. The mentor stays quiet for a long second, letting the tension build as she considers their pleas. Finally, she lets out a heavy sigh and signals that she is ready to give her verdict. Kudelka admits she shares some responsibility for not watching them more closely. Since nobody was actually injured during the brawl, she decides to overlook the incident and let them stay this time. Rid is practically glowing with relief, calling her by a nickname as he stammers out his thanks. Kudelka is not having it though, and she makes it crystal clear that they are on their final warning. Even though they avoided the boot, they are not getting off scot-free. Kudelka tells them they will both receive a fitting punishment, and the look on their faces says they know this is not going to be easy. Kudelka isn't about to give them a free pass. She drops a bomb about a subjugation practical as their next step, leaving the boys wondering what kind of nightmare they just walked into. Katia recognizes the mission name immediately. This task is normally reserved for elite middle schoolers, making it clear that the boys are being thrown straight into the deep end. No more playing around in the courtyard. Kudelka confirms they are heading out to exterminate monsters that have been reported as harmful to the public. She breaks down the reality of their world. Magic isn't just a cheat code for a better life. It is a heavy responsibility that forces them to serve and protect the people. Protecting the land is the #1 job for any noble. This mission is a high-stakes dress rehearsal for the day they have to defend their own territories from a real invasion. Kudelka is clearly enjoying their panic. Since they forgot their place as mages and used their magic for personal fights, she is giving them the ultimate reminder of what their power is really for. Our boy tries to convince himself he was just acting in self-defense, but the reality of breaking the rules is starting to sting. Both boys are stunned as the weight of their dangerous new task finally hits home. Rid knows he needs combat training after that creepy run-in with the cursed spirit. He might only be 6, but the world is not giving him any breaks. Pizarro is talking big about monster hunting just to save his skin, but Katia is actually worried about the danger. Our boy is just caught in the middle wondering if he is truly ready for a real battle. Kudelka smiles and reassures them that she will be there to keep them safe. No student is dying on her watch today, even if their punishment is a monster hunt. Our MC is already apologizing to his parents in his head. Facing expulsion on his very first day was definitely not how he imagined his school life going. The big mission is set for 3 days from now. Until then, they have to sit through classes and think about why they started a magic brawl in the courtyard. He shakes off the bad vibes and decides to stay positive. He can't stay depressed forever when there is a challenge waiting for him. Back to the grind with magic history class. The teacher is putting in work on the blackboard, even if she is a bit too short to reach the top. Time skips forward without any more drama. Everyone is out in the courtyard for flight training, and the kids are actually managing to get their brooms off the ground. Magical pharmacology class introduces them to the basics. They are tasked with raising a mandragora, which looks like something straight out of an old school game. Back in the classroom for linguistics, the lecture covers core elements like fire and lightning while the students try to keep up. Our boy stays locked in during the theory lessons. He scribbles down everything about mana capacity and how it differs for every mage. 3 days have already flown by without any issues. No fights and no accidentally letting his cursed speech slip out in front of the class. This is way better than he expected. School life is a blast and he is soaking up every second of it. The whole academy feels like he is living inside one of his favorite fantasy games. Every single day brings something new and exciting to learn. Every day at this academy brings him one step closer to his goal. He is determined to get stronger so he can protect his family and his home. Sitting in class feels different when you're surrounded by other mages. Having his old tutor as a teacher is a vibe, especially with all these specialized facilities to help him grow. Even if he already knows the basics of visualization, the theory lessons are still worth it. Every spell needs a solid incantation, and this dude is feeling good about his new school life. Koudelka pivots the lesson to a more practical problem. There are times in battle where you just do not have the luxury of a long chant. She puts our boy on the spot to see if he is paying attention. He needs to know the correct move for when things get urgent. He racks his brain for all those late-night reading sessions. He is sure he saw the answer in one of his books before. Nailed it. Koudelka is impressed he knows about shortened incantations, proving all that extra studying is finally paying off. Our boy is feeling himself right now, thinking about how all those hours in the library are finally paying off. Plenty of tricks for his cursed speech are hidden in those books, even if he cannot use standard magic. Katia gives him a shout-out, making Rid blush a bit while a classmate nearby catches an attitude. Koudelka then moves the lesson forward, explaining that a shortened incantation is exactly what it sounds like. Manifesting a massive shard of ice, she demonstrates the technique for everyone to see. No long chants are needed when you can just command your mana to become a blizzard spear. The class is losing their minds over the display, but the teacher keeps it moving. Saving time on the chant means being way more precise with how you shape your mana. Koudelka drops a challenge, asking if anyone knows a way to cast even faster than that. Rid is genuinely stumped, wondering what kind of high-level secret could top a shortened chant. Suddenly, Pizarro shoots his hand up like the overachiever he is. This dude is ready to drop some knowledge on the rest of the class. Koudelka loves the energy and tells him to go ahead. Pizarro stands tall and announces that the ultimate shortcut is simply using incantationless magic. Pizarro breaks it down for the class. Casting without an incantation is a high-level move that only a few mages can actually pull off. Koudelka claps for a perfect score. Clearly impressed, he knows such an obscure secret. Rid and Katia sit in stunned silence as the difficulty of the technique sinks in. Pizarro stands tall with a smug grin. He claims it is only natural for a member of the Valverde family to be this cracked. Rid clenches his teeth as the pressure builds. Seeing that smug face reminds him exactly of the arrogant noble he met back in the day. Katia leans over to check on him. Rid just looks away, thinking back to how Pizarro has been picking fights since day one. Katia notes how Pizarro's focus never leaves him. Rid offers a small thanks, trying to downplay the tension between them. Rid stares down at his notebook as the memory of Pizarro's father resurfaces. Despite the attitude, he finds it impossible to hold a grudge against someone in such a similar situation. Our MC is grinding because he actually wants to get stronger on his own terms. But looking at Pizarro, he realizes that dude's situation is way more messed up. Pizarro is just a kid desperate for his dad's approval, doing everything he's told without even realizing the weight on his shoulders. Our boy can't just brush it off like it's someone else's drama. Despite the empathy, Rid knows he has to focus on himself first. He starts hunting for info on cursed speech in the library. But the shelves are basically empty on the subject. Most of the books only scratch the surface, leaving him with zero useful tips. Suddenly, Koudelka sneaks up on him, catching him right in the middle of his research. Koudelka is genuinely impressed by his dedication, giving him a verbal gold star for being so proactive. Rid admits he is chasing down some answers, which immediately piqued her interest. Rid brings up the massive toll cursed speech takes on his throat and body. Koudelka confirms his theory, explaining that the technique drains his stamina just as fast as his mana. The power literally strains his voice box, making it a high-risk ability. To handle the blowback, he is going to have to level up his physical endurance. Rid thinks back to his big fight, realizing his stamina drained way too fast for comfort. Koudelka drops a hint, explaining that he was likely dealing with magic reflection the whole time. She breaks down how the power works, warning him that hitting a high mana target can cause the spell to boomerang. Rid finally understands why his throat felt like it was shredded. Koudelka points out that even spirits have a natural human resistance to these commands. Our boy is genuinely stunned to find out his biggest weapon has such a serious flaw. The conversation shifts to the time he actually used his voice on Lord Valverde. She explains that Valverde only got caught because he was being a cocky noble and let his guard down. Realistically, against someone with strong willpower, that curse would have just exploded in his face. Rid admits he had no idea about the mechanics of human targets. Koudelka notes it is because he has been playing it safe and avoiding using his power on people. Staring down, Rid confesses that he realized how scary it is to control someone's will. He decided right then and there to keep his cursed speech locked up unless it is a do-or-die situation. Koudelka finally softens her tone and gives the boy some well-deserved credit. She reaches out and pats his head, acknowledging his hard work as she calls his name. Continuing the conversation, she tells him that he really is built different when it comes to magic. In her eyes, he is the only one truly suited to handle the weight of cursed speech. The encouragement lights a fire in our MC, who vows to keep training until he is officially the strongest. Koudelka just watches with a smirk, looking forward to seeing how much he will grow. Elsewhere in the library, a jealous shadow is watching their every move from behind a bookshelf. Pissarro can't hear what they are saying, but he is already fuming at the sight of them together. He can't stand the fact that a special grade student gets so much attention from the teachers. He clenches his teeth in rage, convinced that his own life is only falling apart because of our boy. A sudden flashback reveals Duke Valverde losing his cool and smashing a wine glass in a fit of rage. He screams about how humiliating it is for his family to be seen as inferior to the magicless Springfields. The Duke points a finger at his own son, calling him a total disgrace while his mother begs for mercy. Pissarro can only watch in silence as the man he should look up to tears his world apart. Being cast aside left a scar that never healed. He stands in the shadows of his past, promising to save his mother by becoming someone his father can no longer ignore. Back in the library, he watches from the shelves as our MC enjoys the spotlight. His fist tightens as he vows to prove that his power is in a different league. Just watch, Springfield, I will show you who is actually superior. A lone horse carriage rumbles through the dirt paths of the Suhorbak forest. It is a long journey away from the safety of the academy. Inside the cabin, Koudelka announces they are finally closing in on the meeting spot. This subjugation mission is the direct result of their little magic brawl on the first day. Since our boy and Pissarro decided to throw hands, the school is forcing them into the field as a reality check. Koudelka wants to remind these kids that their power exists to protect, not just to show off. Rid takes a second to process the weight of his new duties. Protecting the territory from monsters is a far cry from the academic life he was expecting. Seeing her there, Rid realizes he has no idea why Katia is even tagging along. She looks totally nervous as she explains that she was just part of the crowd when the trouble started. Koudelka chimes in with her own reasoning for the extra passenger. Apparently, she gave Katia the green light because the girl was the only one brave enough to try and stop the fight. Katia is clearly worried about the danger, but Koudelka tells her to chill. She makes it clear that this is strictly an observation mission to prepare them for what is coming next. Koudelka flashes a cheeky grin while explaining that pushing students to their limits is just standard school policy. The carriage grinds to a halt at the meeting point where their client is already waiting to greet them. She keeps it professional as she confirms the request, while the man nervously explains that monsters have taken over their workplace. The guy's face drops the moment he sees our boy and the others, immediately questioning if these kids are actually ready for a fight. Pissarro takes the insult personally, but Rid stays grounded, acknowledging that this mission is definitely a step up for first years. Realizing he might have stepped on some toes, the man stammers out an apology for doubting the academy's elite. Koudelka just strikes a pose and tells him to relax, guaranteeing that her students are top tier and won't get a scratch on them. Koudelka shuts down the client's doubts by promising to keep the kids safe. The guy is still tripping over how small everyone looks, including the teacher herself. Our mentor takes the age comments personally and reveals she is actually a 140-year-old pro. She ignores Rid's attempts to calm her down and decides a live demonstration is the only way to earn some respect. A massive boulder becomes her target of choice. While the client watches in confusion, she starts channeling mana for a heavy hit. One quick spell is all it takes to reduce the entire rock to rubble. The raw impact leaves everyone watching in silence as the dust settles. The client is finally speechless while Koudelka claims that even her students can pull off moves like that. Pissarro is already acting smug, but Katia looks like she is having a mini crisis over the high expectations. The mission feels real now that the client admits he is counting on them to save his people. Rid realizes how well Koudelka manages people by balancing her power with presence. It clicks for our boy that being a legend takes more than just raw mana. He understands the need to build trust and resolves to give this mission everything he has. The client leads the way and confirms they have found 2 targets hunkered down in a cave just ahead. Our boy does a quick mental search and realizes they are hunting salamanders, which are essentially fire dragons that look like lizards. It turns out this cave is the lifeblood of the local economy, and the mining industry will be ruined if the monsters stay. Pissarro wants to just end them, but the client explains they need the rare materials from the cocoons. He hands over some capture nets and tells the squad they need to bring the targets in alive. They finally arrive at the mouth of the cave. The client warns them that capturing is way harder than exterminating since they have to pull their punches against a ferocious dragon. Koudelka just nods and tells her students to stay safe. The squad steps into the dark as the client shouts that he is counting on them. The cave is already spooky enough, but a single drop of water on the head is the breaking point for Katia. She lets out a loud scream that has everyone turning around in a panic. Rid checks in to see if she is hurt, but Pizarro is only worried about their stealth. He tells them to pipe down before they get spotted by the local wildlife. Koudelka steps in with some comfort and offers to hold the girl's hand while they walk. It is a sweet gesture that catches Katia off guard. Koudelka is clearly enjoying her role as the big sister while she leads Katia deeper into the dark. Watching the wholesome scene unfold is giving Rid a major case of social cringe. They finally find what they were looking for, and it is a pair of massive fire lizards. These things look way meaner than the sketches in the books. The team rushes forward to get into position. Rid admits that these salamanders are way bigger than he expected. But there is no turning back now. Koudelka gives a quick warning about their high intelligence. She tells Rid that cursed speech might backfire on him, and he gives her a sharp nod as he prepares for combat. Koudelka gives the squad their orders, reminding them to weaken the lizards before trying to use the capture nets. Rid gives her a sharp nod and is ready to get to work. Pizarro doesn't waste any time and unleashes a massive thunderstream at the nearest target. He manages to combine water and lightning magic to create a devastating elemental attack. The lizard takes a direct hit from the blast and is left crackling with electricity. This high-level combo seems to be doing some serious damage as it surges through its body. While Katia is totally baffled by the light show, Koudelka is genuinely impressed. She mentions that pulling off composite magic is a feat even adults struggle with, but the monster is already roaring back for more. From the sidelines, Koudelka analyzes the situation and notes that Pizarro still lacks some raw power. The boys have to scramble to stay out of the way, as the lizard launches a counterattack. Pushing through the strain, Pizarro launches another round of his thunderstream. He catches his breath and watches the target closely to see if his magic finally put the beast down. Our boy gets the signal to divide and conquer by heading after the second salamander. Rid charges in but knows he has to be careful with his cursed speech, since the risk of magic reflection is way too high. Rid hesitates, knowing a direct hit with heavy rocks would crush the target, until a faint dripping sound gets his attention. A single drop of water falling from the ceiling catches his eye and stops his train of thought. Seeing the moisture on the stalactites gives him a brilliant idea for a non-lethal trap. Elsewhere, Pizarro unleashes his thunderstream and gasps for air before finally tossing out the capture net. Pizarro celebrates his catch, but Rid immediately steals the show by sealing the other lizard in a floating water prison. Koudelka is impressed by the quick work while Pizarro stands there frozen, unable to believe a single word did all that. Rid finishes securing the beast as Pizarro clenches his fist in silent frustration. Rid breaks down how he visualized the water droplets to snap that trap into place. Koudelka is genuinely impressed, calling his quick thinking a top-tier move. Katia is completely floored by the performance while Koudelka notes that his potential is basically limitless. Meanwhile, Pizarro just watches from the sidelines, feeling the weight of the gap between them. Staring at his rival, Pizarro grits his teeth in pure frustration at the sheer power of special-grade cursed speech. The reality of Rid's talent is starting to sting. Just when they think they can breathe, a third salamander lunges out for a surprise round. With no capture nets left, the group starts to scramble for a plan. The beast closes in, and Pizarro's legs lock up from the pressure. Katia tries to pull it together, but her voice is shaking too much to cast anything. Our boy does not miss a beat, stepping forward with a single command to save the day. He shouts for a capture, and a stone cage instantly sprouts from the earth to pin the lizard down. With the predator finally locked up, Pizarro is left sitting on the ground in total shock. He can only stare up at the bars, completely humbled by the display. Koudelka rushes over to check on the team as the dust settles, but the atmosphere is heavy. Rid asks his rival if he is okay, but Pizarro stays on the ground and clenches his fist in silent frustration. Our boy explains his thought process, admitting he just used the environment to trap the beast. Koudelka is clearly impressed that he managed to save Pizarro while solving their gear problem on the fly. Koudelka gives him a perfect score, making the MC blush from the rare praise. On the side, Pizarro is finished playing second fiddle and starts focusing his mana for a serious attack. The rival begins his chant, visualizing his power turning into a roaring thunderclap. Rid finally senses the shift in energy and turns around with a stunned look. Pizarro lets loose a powerful thunderbolt that tears through the air, sending shards of rock flying everywhere. Koudelka immediately moves to shield Katia from the debris as the ceiling begins to give way. Once the smoke clears, the girls find themselves safe but blocked by a wall of fallen rubble. Pizarro steps out from the shadows and locks eyes with Rid, speaking his name with piercing coldness. Without wasting a second, he points directly at our MC and issues the challenge. This dude is demanding a duel, right here and right now. Rid is genuinely baffled by the sudden challenge. This dude just dropped a duel request in the middle of a dark cave, and our boy is rightfully asking why they would even do that right now. Pizarro is dead set on settling their rivalry once and for all. Rid tries to talk some sense into him, reminding his rival that they were almost expelled just a few hours ago. Standing his ground, Pizarro points out that nobody is around to stop them. He is determined to prove his superiority while they are trapped alone behind the rubble. Rid watches his rival prepare to fight, wondering why the guy is so obsessed with this. He sees the mana shifting into lightning and can't wrap his head around why Pizarro is going this far. While he can't stand Pizarro's arrogant father, Rid doesn't actually have a beef with the guy himself. He knows he has to shut this down before their teacher manages to clear the fallen rocks and catches them. On the other side of the cave-in, Katia is panicking and asking their teacher what they should do. Kudelka stays silent, calmly placing a hand against the massive wall of stone. Katia is confused by the lack of action, but Kudelka tells her to hold on. She plans to step in if things get dangerous, but for now, she is going to let the boys handle their own business. Kudelka watches the duel from the shadows, hoping this clash helps her student grow. She stays back, thinking this might be necessary for Pizarro's sake as well. Pizarro steps forward, gathering energy to shoot forth from his hands. He sends a jagged thunderbolt of electricity straight at our MC. Rid doesn't even flinch, simply commanding the attack to vanish into thin air. He casually wipes his brow as the lightning dissolves, leaving him standing tall in the middle of the crater. Pizarro isn't done yet and immediately starts gathering his mana to create a massive sphere of heat. He focuses everything on turning his energy into flames, determined to land a hit. The rival launches a point-blank fireball, but Rid just stares it down without moving an inch. A single command to stop is all it takes for the rolling inferno to freeze in its tracks. With a simple command to go, Rid sends the flames right back where they came from. Pizarro barely manages to dodge, and both boys are left catching their breath as the cave falls silent. Rid finally asks why Pizarro is going so far to treat him like an enemy. His rival just glares at the ground, telling him to stop playing dumb. Memory lane hits hard as the world labels him a prodigy, while the haters call it a scam. The old man's voice is full of venom, accusing him of riding a wave of lies. Rid can't believe Pizarro is actually falling for this toxic nonsense. The logic is simple. If you can't explain why you're special, then you must be a fake. A century of silence shouldn't just break for some random kid. Then comes the low blow, claiming his parents are just playing a desperate game of make-believe to keep their status. The memory of his parents' quiet sacrifice makes these insults impossible to ignore. They worked too hard to protect their territory for some brat to trash their name. The line has been crossed. You can talk trash about him, but dragging his family into it was a fatal mistake. One command is all it takes to shift the momentum. Pizarro thinks he can dodge, but a second bind shuts him down before he can even blink. Pizarro is absolutely fuming as he pushes his mana to the limit, desperate to ignite a fireball for one last shot. The explosion rocks the entire cave, but Rid doesn't even budge while his rival is sent stumbling back by the sheer force. Our MC just watches with a serious look as Pizarro gasps for air, struggling to even stay on his feet after that exchange. Rid finally asks why he is so obsessed with this win. Pizarro can't wrap his head around being dominated by someone he considers a total fraud. The mood shifts completely when Pizarro admits that this fight isn't just for him, it is actually for the sake of his family. It is a toxic cycle where being second place makes him a disgrace. If he doesn't beat a Springfield, his father will never acknowledge him or his mother as real members of the family. Everything clicks for Rid. He recognizes that same desperate look from his own past life, realizing they aren't so different after all. A flashback shows a younger version of our rival reaching out during the day of the magic measurement. He clenches his fist and shouts that failing that day got him and his mother kicked out of the main house. This dude is desperate to become strong enough to protect her. He screams that defeating Rid is the only way his father will finally acknowledge his worth. Meanwhile, the girls are stuck behind the cave-in, forced to listen to the trauma dump. Kudelka stays quiet as she realizes his impatience is a direct result of the way the Duke treated him. Katia asks if there's anything they can do for him, but her teacher admits that her hands are tied. No amount of power will matter unless he chooses to change his own heart. Kudelka wonders if Rid might be the one to actually reach him. Despite being on opposite sides, both boys are driven by the exact same desire to protect their families. Pizarro clenches his fist while looking down, consumed by his own bitterness. He is convinced that Rid's easy life means he could never understand the pressure of fighting for his parents' approval. Rid looks away and quietly admits that he actually does understand. This just makes Pizarro even more heated as he screams at Rid to stop saying whatever sounds good, determined to prove his point through force. Pizarro starts chanting for his composite magic. Thunderstream, he refuses to believe someone he thinks has never put in effort could ever reach his level. Pizarro lets it all out, unleashing his full power in a heavy wave of lightning and water. He shouts for Rid to eat his best shot as the entire cave lights up with the blast. Even while facing the attack, Our MC is genuinely impressed by the raw power behind the spell. He realizes just how much hard work Pizarro must have put in to achieve this kind of mastery. Realizing he cannot just play around, Rid decides it is time to go all out and activates his defense. He calls out a command and a large wall of earth erupts to meet the incoming torrent. The impact is heavy enough to crack the stone defense, but the shield holds firm. Once the smoke clears, Pizarro is left drained and collapses to his knees in disbelief. Pizarro is fully breaking down and calling himself a failure. Rid is not letting that happen and starts walking toward him. He looks his rival in the eyes and tells him he is actually amazing. The dude is left speechless by the unexpected kindness. Rid explains that all that magic knowledge did not come for free. He knows Pizarro must have put in some serious work to master those spells. Seeing the boy struggle takes Rid back to his previous life. He remembers those painful days of trying to get his parents to notice him. Our MC wonders if he can help lift the heavy load his classmate is carrying. He tells Pizarro they are basically the same, which catches the other boy off guard. Both of them care deeply about their families. They are both just trying their hardest to do right by the people they love. Their situations might be worlds apart, but the goal is identical. That core desire to protect their family is what drives them both. Rid realizes he cannot fix the boy's family life, but he refuses to let him struggle alone. He decides it is time to offer a hand. Breaking the silence with a direct proposal, our boy asks Pizarro if they can be friends. He tells him that his relentless effort is exactly why he is so outstanding. Rid wants to reach the top alongside someone who works just as hard as he does. The tough exterior finally breaks as the praise hits home. Pizarro admits that he has never heard those words from anyone else before. Our MC thinks he has finally made a breakthrough, but the vibe shifts instantly. Pizarro bluntly refuses the friendship, leaving Rid without a response. The rejection comes with a twist as Pizarro looks back with a new offer. He is more than happy to settle for being rivals instead. They seal the new arrangement with a handshake. From this day on, their competition is officially on. Turns out the girls were eavesdropping on the boys the whole time. Kudelka tells Katia to keep their spying a total secret. Katia is all in with a big smile. Kudelka pops in to make sure the boys are in one piece. Rid gives a thumbs up and tries to include his rival in the report. Pizarro plays it cool with a shaky confirmation. Relieved to see they are safe, she decides it is time to wrap things up. With the lizards dealt with, the team is ready to head back to the client. The group makes their way toward the light at the end of the tunnel. It was a chaotic day, but they are finally heading home. Back at the Magic Academy, the boys are taking their rivalry to the skies. The other students watch in awe as Rid uses his signature cursed speech to keep his broom in the air. The race comes to a sudden halt as Pizarro sticks the landing and claims a flashy win. Rid is left in the dust, looking pretty frustrated that he couldn't take first place this time. Our boy Rid doesn't stay mad for long and gives Pizarro a big smile of respect. Pizarro tries to stay serious, but it is clear he values the recognition from his official rival. Katia is completely wiped out after trying to keep up with them, laughing from the grass. She is just glad the vibe between the two boys has finally turned into a healthy competition. The piece is short-lived when Kudelka marches into the library with some big news. She tells the squad to get ready because they have been called for an official expedition. The team is stunned to hear that the Magic Association actually reached out to them. They can't believe they are already getting involved in high-level association business. Kudelka drops the bombshell that a mysterious person claiming to be a curse speaker has suddenly appeared. The group is tasked with investigating this stranger, who might actually share Rid's rare power. Bringing up a solid point, Pizarro mentions that the curse speaker gift is supposed to be a Springfield bloodline exclusive. Mission details are laid out next. The Magic Association and the vice principal want them to verify if this newcomer is the real deal or just a total fraud. Pressure is definitely mounting for Katia, and she questions if they should really be the ones handling another curse speaker. A quick laugh from Kudelka breaks the tension. She knows they have Rid, the absolute peak of authentic curse speakers, on their side. Having faced Rid's power firsthand, the group is basically made of experts. There is nobody more qualified to sniff out a fake. Betting the house on it, she is certain this mysterious stranger is nothing but a phony. The facts keep coming as Kudelka calls the guy a clout chaser looking to make a quick buck off Rid's reputation. Katia cannot even believe the audacity. Kudelka remains skeptical because taking down a cursed spirit is a feat only a high-level master could pull off. The door swings open just as the group learns that Kudelka is actually booked for another assignment. Meet Lapis Estrella, the new teacher and elite magic swordsman joining the investigation. While Kudelka explains the mission, Rid notes that the new teacher has some serious class president energy. Our boy tries to be polite, but Lapis hits him with a stare so cold it could freeze the room. She mentions that he is the first curse speaker in a century, and her intense aura has him sweating bullets. Pizarro pulls a pro-gamer move by asking for private training, leaving Rid stunned by the sudden hustle. Lapis finally caves and agrees to the private training, noting that our boy is a serious grinder. Private lessons are officially on the menu. The teacher warns that things are about to get brutal, but Rid is already sold. He is ready for the challenge even if the sudden attitude shift is a bit weird. On the road again, but the carriage ride is anything but relaxing. The teacher is locking onto Rid with an intense stare that says everything and nothing at the same time. The pressure is getting to him as that gaze does not move an inch. Our boy is sweating bullets while the silence just keeps building. Looking at the group, it is clear Rid is the only one getting the cold shoulder. He is left wondering what he did to end up on the teacher's bad side while everyone else gets a pass. Shifting gears, the group starts talking about the rumors of a fake curse speaker. Miss Kuchan already called it a scam, but Rid cannot help but feel a bit skeptical. Thinking back to the ghost they fought in Forest End, our boy knows real spirits are no joke. He wonders who this mysterious person is if they actually manage to take one down. Katia is basically glued to the window and tells the boys they need to see this. She is definitely the hype man of the group right now. The town of Taramu finally appears in the distance. It looks like a major upgrade from their usual scenery. Our boy looks on in awe as the landscape shifts and the massive town finally comes into view. Rid and Katia are totally geeking out over how big the town is. While Katia wonders what the vibe is like, Rid is just trying to take it all in. Pizarro acts like a professional hater by telling everyone to calm down. Rid hits him with a quick reality check and reminds him they are still only 6. Our MC shoots his shot and asks Miss Lapis if they can go on a tour after the mission. She just gives him the silent treatment while looking as serious as ever. A sudden jolt rocks the carriage and nearly sends everyone flying. The mood shifts instantly as the vehicle comes to a weird stop. The carriage slams to a halt and leaves everyone wondering what the holdup is. A scream from outside breaks the silence and the vibe shifts instantly. It is a total disaster zone with giant sandworms making a meal out of the locals. People are scattered and running for their lives as the desert turns into a buffet. Looking out at the carnage, our boy realizes he cannot just sit back and watch. The stakes just went through the roof and he is ready to step in. Rid ignores the safety of the carriage and dives headfirst into the chaos. He is not about to let people get hunted while he sits on his hands. Lapis tries to pull him back, but the MC is already making his move. While she shouts for him to stay put, another victim is seconds away from becoming worm food. A blast of power sends the first monster flying as the survivors scramble for safety. Rid tells them to clear out while he takes over the front line. Our boy stands his ground against the biggest worm in the swarm and drops a thunderbolt. The entire desert lights up as he unleashes his power on the beast. Pizarro is done playing it safe and charges straight into the chaos. Lapis tries to call him back, but the boy is already committed to the fight. Things get even messier as 3 more giant sandworms join the party. The group is completely cornered, and even Rid has to admit they are in deep trouble. Rid starts to sweat when he realizes his single-target magic is useless against a crowd. With Pizarro hitting his limit, our MC is officially out of ideas. While the boys are in panic mode, Lapis just lets out a tired sigh. She casually grabs the hilt of her sword, finally ready to show these kids how a pro handles business. One blinding flash of steel later, the desert is quiet. Lapis moves like a blur and carves through the entire swarm before anyone can even blink. After making it look easy, Lapis hits Rid with a serious reality check. She scolds him for being reckless and relying way too much on magic without a real plan. The boys can only watch in silence at the massive gap in their power. Seeing a real magic swordsman in action changes everything, and they realize how far they still have to go. Just when they thought it was over, more worms start popping up. Katia rushes in to help, but Pizarro notices one of the downed beasts is not quite dead yet. The monster does not waste any time and lunges straight for Pizarro. Rid screams for him to move, but the boy is completely frozen as death stares him in the face. In a moment of pure desperation, Pizarro snaps and shouts a single command to explode. A massive explosion rips through the air, completely vaporizing the worm in a flash of light. Pizarro hits the ground, completely drained after that last-second save. While Katia checks for injuries, Rid can only stare in shock, realizing his rival just used a move that should not even be possible. A mysterious figure in a suit watches the chaos from the sidelines with a creepy smirk. He has clearly seen enough, wondering if the rumors about those curse words were actually true. Rid is shaken to his core. He just watched an explosion triggered by a single command, and it felt way too much like his own curse magic. A composed man in a suit appears, his presence commanding immediate respect. He is identified as another curse speaker, and Lapis quickly thanks him for saving the students. After tending to the boys, Lapis identifies her group as representatives from the Magic Academy. She looks at the mysterious newcomer, her guard still up despite the help. The stranger is hunting for information about the hero who took down a cursed spirit in Chemo's Hill. He adjusts his glasses, clearly searching for a specific individual among them. Maintaining an air of high-class politeness, The man introduces himself as Gregor Abagnale. He greets the Academy envoys with a formal bow. Gregor reveals the truth about his origins, claiming to be only the second curse speaker discovered in the last century. Rid grips his chest as the reality of not being alone sinks in. Representing the Magic Association, Gregor explains he was sent to welcome them and assist with their mission. Lapis acknowledges his title while Gregor maintains a knowing smile. Lapis introduces Rid as the first curse speaker in a century, officially bringing him into the investigation. Our boy is suddenly the center of attention, and he is clearly feeling the pressure. Gregor's gaze intensifies as he connects the dots. He greets the kid with an unsettling level of reverence, addressing him as the Great Lord Rid. This dude is way too excited, claiming he has been waiting ages for this face-to-face meeting. Meanwhile, the air around him feels heavy, sending a wave of pure dread straight through Rid. Sensing the weird vibes, Lapis steps in to cut the tension. She keeps things professional, insisting they move the exhausted students to a safe location immediately. Gregor snaps back to his high-class persona and offers a humble apology. He offers to escort the entire group back to his private estate for some much-needed rest. A couple of locals approach Gregor with deep bows and heavy gratitude. They are so thankful he handled the monsters that they insist on offering up a reward for his trouble. The small token turns out to be a massive bag of gold, which immediately sets off alarm bells. These villagers do not look rich at all, making this huge payout look incredibly sus. Gregor is deep in thought, wondering just who exactly this kid is. He can't explain it, but his gut tells him the boy's power feels fundamentally different from his own curse words. As the carriages roll out, Rid is already in full detective mode. He leans on his hand with a skeptical look, muttering about how suspicious the whole situation feels. Our boy turns to Pizarro, asking if he felt the weird vibes too. Pizarro just crosses his arms, noting that Gregor gives off the exact same shady energy as the high society adults he is used to. Lapis shuts down the conversation with a stern warning. She tells the boys to stay cool and avoid acting rashly, especially since they are still short on actual information. The desert heat is intense as the city of Taramu finally comes into view. Lapis reminds everyone to stay alert as they approach the massive gates. Peering out the carriage windows, the group gets their first look at the town's grim reality. They pass by boarded-up buildings and locals who look absolutely crushed, making it clear that things are even worse than they thought. They pull up to a massive estate that is easily the most expensive-looking place in town. Katia is completely floored by the luxury, but Rid and Pizarro just look ready to get this meeting over with. Gregor orders his staff to handle the guests, and the attendants bow in sync. Our group follows them deeper into the estate to see what all the hype is about. The interior is draped in luxury, from high ceilings to a large lion fountain pouring water. Despite the fancy look, Rid gets a weird vibe from how quiet and lifeless the building feels. Their guide stops at a set of large double doors and mentions that their guests are already waiting. Rid is still questioning who it could be when the door finally swings open. Sitting right there on the couch are Georg and Rid's mother, looking perfectly at home. Our boy is frozen in his tracks, barely able to believe his own eyes. Without waiting a second, Georg scoops Rid up into the air for a reunion hug. It has been 6 months since they last saw each other, and the old man is already commenting on how heavy the kid has gotten. Total social suicide follows as Rid begs his dad to put him down in front of the entire class. Katia and Lapis can only watch with small smiles while Pizarro stands by looking indifferent. His mother moves in for a hug next, telling him how happy she is to see him finally making friends. Rid tries to play it off and explain things, but his bright red face tells a different story. Rid manages to greet his parents, but he is quickly overwhelmed by his mother's intense reunion hug. Lapis and Pizarro are totally caught off guard by the sudden family reunion until Gregor reveals he is the one who summoned them. He explains that as parents of a curse speaker, it only makes sense for them to swap notes with another professional in the field. To keep the mood professional, a servant rolls in a refreshment cart while Gregor invites everyone to find a seat. The group finally settles into the lounge for a formal meeting, but Lapis is already ready to cut through the small talk. She interrogates Gregor about his history with curse words, but he is more interested in confirming if the boys use them to stop the sandworms. He casually admits he has only been able to control his own curse speaker abilities for a few years. The conversation turns to the Chemos Hill incident as they confirm the use of curse words to end the spirit threat. Gregor seems especially curious about the rumor that Rid actually managed to communicate with the monster. Gregor kicks things off with a brutal take, calling curse spirits nothing but ugly monsters. He does not have a single drop of sympathy for them. Rid starts to sweat, thinking about how those spirits might have once been human. Lapis doubles down, saying there's no need to listen to their cries, but our boy can't stay quiet and slams his way to his feet. Passion takes over as he shouts that curse spirits still have emotions. He is convinced those kids were just victims of circumstance. Gregor just watches him with a calm, analytical gaze. The outburst is cut short when Lapis tells him to calm down and take a seat. Rid immediately deflates and tries to offer his apologies to Lord Abagnale for the scene he just caused. Jorg takes the lead, reminding the room that Rid is still just a child regardless of his talent. He wants the focus to stay on family time rather than work. It is a rare moment of dad energy from the High Lord. Lapis catches the hint and decides to call off the interrogation for now. She suggests moving the talk about curse words to the adults. Her eyes remain fixed and cold as she pivots the conversation. Everything settles into a pleasant tea time as the guests start swapping stories. Gregor is clearly impressed by what he hears. He confirms that the wild rumors about Rid defeating a curse spirit are actually the real deal. Gregor admits he is impressed by the boy's rare talent. Using curse words to persuade people instead of just killing monsters is a miracle in itself. He starts laughing as he suggests that these words could even be used to manipulate leaders and take over an entire nation. Our boy is not about to let that slide. He looks the man in the eyes and firmly states that he will never use his power for something like that. He remembers the spirit girl who was horribly mistreated by nobles. She was just a kid in pain before he set her free. Rid stands up and makes a vow to use his curse words for the sake of everyone. Lapis and Pizarro can only watch in silence as he shows off his true conviction. The tension breaks when Gregor laughs and admits he went a bit too far with his joke. He asks for forgiveness while Lapis keeps a cold eye on him. With the meeting over, they head to an inn that was prepared for them in town to get some much-needed rest. The squad rolls through the sunny streets of Taramu while the carriage clatters along the pavement. Rid immediately drops a bombshell on everyone, stating that he is positive Gregor is not actually a curse speaker. Katia is curious about the sudden doubt, and Rid explains that the man's mana feels completely alien compared to his own. It is a vibe check that the mysterious official has clearly failed. Something about Gregor's energy is just plain unsettling, and the memory of that fake smile is not helping. Our boy is trusting his instincts on this one despite the guy's high-ranking status. Lapis backs him up, agreeing that the guy's power signature is way off the mark for their lineage. Pizarro is left scratching his head, wondering how the man could use curse words if he is a total fraud. Jorg chimes in to confirm that their family has absolutely zero side branches in this region. The mystery only gets deeper as they realize they might be dealing with a dangerous wild card. A heavy atmosphere begins to settle over the group as they notice a strange discomfort hanging over the entire town. It is not just about one suspicious man anymore. The whole place feels like it is holding its breath. Lapis lays down the law, telling the kids to stay put while the adults handle the rest of the investigation. Rid stays silent for now, but he is already deep in thought about whatever secret Gregor is hiding from them. Rid clenches his fists as the danger to his family becomes crystal clear. Leaving this alone isn't an option when his parents' lives are on the line. Our boy is locking in, vowing to protect them at all costs. Back at the inn, the group gathers to compare notes on their new host. Rid's father drops a bomb, saying his overall impression of Gregor is that he is actually a good person. Flashback to earlier that morning. Before the kids arrived, Gregor's personal servant gave the parents a full tour of the city. This woman could not stop glazing her master. She called him a wonderful person and the legendary miracle wielder. The locals were all on the same page. They claimed they finally have peace because Gregor uses his powers for the sake of the town. The servant was truly locked in. She even claimed that she intended to serve the man for the rest of her life. Back in the present, the parents are fully convinced by the public opinion. They say the servants are devoted, and the town is unanimous in their praise. Our MC stays silent, but he is already sensing a trap. Everyone loves the guy, but that unsettling magic power is still giving him a major red flag. The squad holds a secret meeting to discuss the Gregor situation. Pizarro is sure the guy is a total fraud, but Katia is still playing devil's advocate. Whether he is legit or not, it is obvious Gregor is packing some serious heat. His powers might not be true curse words, but the impact is identical. Rid cannot shake the feeling that this guy is up to no good. Even if the town loves him, his motivations are still a complete mystery. Our boy is officially locked in. He decides they need to find the truth before the entire town ends up paying the price. The heavy vibes take a back seat for a minute as Georg and Mom walk in. Seeing his son standing tall, Georg gets all sentimental about how much the kid has grown. Looking down at his boy, Georg admits he is impressed with how far he has come. Rid can only watch as his dad's energy starts to shift into combat mode. Suddenly, Georg stands up with a wild grin. He is already itching for a rematch and challenges Rid to a sword spar right then and there. The training grind never stops, even in front of the inn. Our boy is locked in, letting out a heavy shout as he puts everything into a massive wooden sword swing. Georg is right there, keeping him sharp, clashing swords to test his son's physical strength. He is clearly impressed, noting that Rid's core has gotten way stronger since they last sparred. For the past 3 years, Rid has been working double time to master both curse words and swordsmanship. He is breathing heavy, driven by the singular goal of catching up to his father's level. But the gap between a pro and a kid is still massive. After another clash, Rid ends up on one knee, forced to admit that his dad is still a total beast. As Georg walks over, Rid catches his breath and reflects on his progress. He knows his body still needs time to grow, but he is determined to have his sword skills as a backup in case his magic ever fails him. Georg reaches down with a warm smile and gives his boy a well-deserved head pat. He tells Rid he is looking forward to his future as the next lord, and our MC responds with a confident yes. With the rest of the squad watching from the sidelines, the sparring session finally wraps up. Watching his father walk away, Rid makes a silent vow to get even stronger and become a lord just like him. Gregor keeps it ice cold, telling Pizarro to stop acting like a fool while showing off that mysterious glowing mark. Our boy is just watching, remembering how his rival actually wanted to pick up a sword instead of magic. Lapis isn't sugarcoating anything, telling Rid his sword skills are straight up lacking and need way more work. She decides the whole squad is going on a training arc the second they get back to the academy. Our MC is actually hyped for the extra grind, while Katia is already stressed out about surviving the lesson. Suddenly, a random man spots the group and asks who they even are. It turns out to be the same guy they saved from the desert, and he's beyond hyped to run into his heroes again. He can't stop thanking them for stepping in and taking down those massive sandworms earlier. The man reveals he runs a tavern in the city and wants to show some appreciation for his life being saved. He offers to host the entire team for a massive dinner to pay them back. Just as the guy starts hyping up his wife's special rabbit stew, Georg and Mom have to drop the bad news. They've got a territory to manage and have to start heading back home immediately. Rid is definitely feeling the vibes as his parents get ready to leave for the holidays. While Georg gives some final words of encouragement, Lapis steps in and hands Mom a mysterious parting gift. Lapis reveals a magical bracelet inscribed with spell formulas for student safety. It is essentially a high-tech distress signal for emergencies. She hands it over to the boys just in case things get dangerous later on. Cut to the tavern, where the vibes take a sharp turn as a mountain of empty bowls hits the table. Lapis is absolutely cleaning house on the food, asking for another round like a pro. Katia can barely process how much one person can eat. Katia gets a strange sense of déjà vu while watching the scene unfold. Nearby, the tavern owner is losing it over Lapis having a strength that actually matches her insane appetite. The tavern owner keeps the hype train moving, praising the boys for their top-tier magic. He gives Rid a personal thank you for saving his life, but Katia is stuck in her head. She feels like a total fraud for just hiding during the fight. Lapis spots the slump and steps in with some rare wisdom. She reveals she wasn't always a master of the sword and tells Katia to just keep grinding. Success is all about playing the long game. Katia is officially back in the game, eyes sparkling as she promises to work hard. Lapis invites her to keep pushing forward together, and our girl is hyped to start the next training arc. Pizarro tries to flex his first-class magic status, but Lapis shuts that down real quick. She tells him talent is worthless without control, and that his magic is still pretty mid. Even with the win, the lessons never stop. Lapis is not pulling any punches, telling Springfield he is way too reckless and overconfident. Katia is just confused why she is getting caught in the crossfire of the lecture. Back at the tavern, the owner starts connecting the dots about the magic he saw in the desert. He mentions that the boy's power looks just like the miracles performed by Lord Gregor. The man gets visibly nervous, worried he might have accidentally insulted one of Gregor's friends. Our boy tries to clear the air, but the conversation is about to take a weird turn. Rid is completely caught off guard by the man's next question. He wants to know exactly how much of a donation he needs to pay for being rescued. Lapis is confused by the idea of a donation, but the owner is already reaching for his wallet. He asks if 5 platinum coins is enough, which is an insane amount of money that could fund a month of high-class living. Rid nearly loses it at the sheer scale of the offer. A quick memory reveals that Gregor has been shaking these people down for cash for a long time. It turns out the supposed miracle speaker has been running a massive donation racket on the locals. Rid immediately tries to shut it down, refusing to take that kind of life-changing money from a regular guy. Lapis just watches with a deadpan stare, asking if he is actually used to spending such massive sums. The tavern owner admits that he has to borrow money from friends and merchants just to afford the fees. He claims that everyone in town is forced to do the same just to keep up with the payments. They truly believe that Lord Gregor is their only hope for survival. Even when our boy points out that 5 platinum coins is an insane price, the wife insists it is actually a bargain for their lives. Lapis drops the cold truth, revealing that the standard rate is actually double what they thought. Katia has a full-blown mental breakdown trying to calculate the math compared to her tiny silver coin allowance. Rid is disgusted by the clear exploitation of these people. He knows there is no way normal families can survive this kind of debt. But the victims are too blinded by gratitude to see the scam. Even Pizarro is having a hard time wrapping his head around the situation, wondering how anyone could just accept such outrageous prices without a fight. The other customers at the bar chime in, listing off all the times Gregor supposedly saved them from monsters and sickness. To them, the man is a literal saint who solves every problem they cannot handle. The conversation takes a dark turn when the locals mention that monster attacks and weird diseases have been on the rise lately. Interestingly, all these disasters only started happening right around the same time Lord Gregor arrived in town. Whispers of a strange sickness start filling the bar, but the locals immediately panic at the thought of Gregor eavesdropping. The tavern owner tries to brush it off as nothing special, though his nervous expression says otherwise. The mention of purple skin and high fevers sends a chill through Rid. It is the exact same symptom he witnessed back in Forest End years ago, which means this is far from a normal cold. Kudelka senses the dark energy too, suspecting a genuine curse is at work. There is no doubt in our boy's mind that Gregor is running a shady operation. He suspects the man's supposed miracle powers are actually tied to the very curse making everyone sick. The owner tries to keep the peace, arguing that Gregor still saves lives regardless of the cost. His wife is not fully convinced, admitting that she has been having some serious doubts about the man's intentions. Rid ponders the odds of two different miracle wielders showing up in the same town. He starts to wonder if there is some kind of hidden meaning behind their simultaneous arrival. Leaving the townspeople to be extorted for every penny they have is not an option. The group agrees that they cannot just ignore what is happening right in front of them. The squad holds a quick meeting to plan their next steps. They are all in on finding a way to stop the exploitation and bring peace back to the community. Lapis drops some heavy lore. Gregor only got his powers after arriving in town, which is exactly when the local curses started spreading. Rid suggests digging into the man's past, but Lapis thinks they need official backup. Just as they are debating their next move, a hand slowly goes up. Katia offers to use her father's status to get the inside scoop. The boys are stunned to realize her family has that kind of influence. Suddenly, Lapis slams the table and stands up. The magic tracking device she gave Rid's parents has finally triggered. There is no time for questions. She orders the group to the inn before boosting her speed with a tailwind spell. Lapis is out of the building in a flash. Pizarro urges everyone to move and they scramble out the door right behind her. Our boy's heart is racing. He can only think about his parents as the trio sprints through the city streets. Pizarro's instincts flare as he catches a glimpse of something moving in the shadows. Without breaking stride, he warns Rid and Katia to keep their eyes forward and just listen to his instructions. He drops the news that they are being hunted as a shadowed figure stalks them from a nearby doorway. The chase is officially on when the hooded attacker jumps out and prepares to launch a strike at their backs. Pizarro isn't about to play games encounters with a fireball that forces the woman to reveal her face. Rid instantly recognizes her as one of Gregor's followers and realizes they've walked into a trap. She stays silent as a magic circle ignites on her leg, confirming she is ready to get serious for Gregor's sake. Gregor's follower erupts with a wave of dark mana, sending the boys flying before they can even process the attack. They hit the ground hard, gasping for air as the sheer force of her power leaves them reeling. While Rid tries to keep his cool, Pizarro loses it and begins chanting a high-level thunder spell to end the fight. Pizarro lets loose a massive thunderbolt, but the woman barely flinches, her eyes tracking the magic with precision as a dark aura absorbs the impact. Rid's heart sinks as he realizes Pizarro's magic was completely nullified, confirming they are up against someone on an entirely different level. She doesn't give them a second to breathe, conjuring a massive sphere of fire that threatens to incinerate everything in its path. A massive stone wall erupts to block her advance, and while Rid knows they can't win a battle of endurance, he prepares a counterattack to seize the moment. A massive stone hand erupts from the ground and snags Gregor's follower right out of the air. Pizarro doesn't waste the opening, firing off a point-blank fireball while Rid keeps the pressure on. She isn't even breaking a sweat, scoffing at their curse words like they are nothing more than a minor annoyance. For someone rumored to be a threat, she is surprisingly unimpressed by the boys' current power level. The woman brushes off the debris and notes that while they are strong, the damage is finally starting to stack up. Rid realizes his only shot is to keep playing support, feeding Pizarro curse word buffs to maintain the offensive. Things get spicy when she conjures a set of dark flames, transforming the fire into a lethal blade of hellfire. She lets loose a massive slash that forces Rid to immediately command the earth to rise up and shield them. The hits just keep coming as the woman rains down one attack after another without catching her breath. Rid is pushing his limits, screaming for the ground to rise and block the relentless onslaught. The backlash finally hits, and Rid's throat gives out after spamming too many curse words in a row. Before he can recover, a dark blade tears through the air and catches Pizarro right in the chest. Pizarro hits the dirt hard, his chest soaked in blood as Rid's world starts to fall apart. Katia rushes into the chaos, desperately trying to keep him conscious while the situation spirals out of control. Katia is straight up panicking because her healing magic isn't doing anything to stop the bleeding. Pizarro is fading fast and she realizes they are in way over their heads. Rid knows if he doesn't do something now, Pizarro is a goner. He remembers that curse words can affect the body too, so he settles on a high-stakes gamble to save his friend. Our boy commands the blood to stop, and the wound actually seals up with a flash of light. Katia can't believe her eyes as the life-threatening flow finally cuts off. With the bleeding controlled, Katia can finally breathe again. She gets back to work, confident that her magic can handle the rest of the job. Gregor's follower just watches them with a smug look on her face. She scoffs that even with all that power, they are still just kids playing hero. She stares Rid down, basically asking him how much longer he thinks he can survive without his wingman. The pressure is on, and she is ready to end this. Out of nowhere, the woman gets slammed into the ground by an invisible weight. She is struggling to breathe, realizing Rid just commanded the air itself to pin her to the dirt. Rid is fuming. Seeing his friend bleeding out on the dirt is the final straw. He can barely contain his rage as he stares down the woman who did this. Our boy is done playing nice. His magic crest flares to life as he lets out a scream of pure hatred. He commands the very air to float as his power begins to spiral out of control. With a single word, he commands the wind to blow his enemy away. The force is so strong it practically rips through the air, sending a shockwave across the street. The impact is brutal. She gets slammed into the side of a building like a rag doll, leaving her completely dazed. She barely has time to cough up dust before Rid follows up with another command. Thick vines erupt from the ground and coil around her until she is completely immobilized. Katia is left speechless by how easily he handled the situation. Rid doesn't care about the praise, he just wants answers. He stands over his captive and demands to know what her real goal is. Instead of being scared, she just smirks. She confesses that she only came to Taramu for a profitable deal involving Lord Gregor and his fake miracles. Rid calls the crowd out for falling for the most obvious scam in history. He breaks down how this miracle worker is creating the problems just to sell the solutions. Our boy tries to get some answers about their real goal, but the woman just laughs in his face. She calls them spoiled brats and claims she could have ended them the second they let their guard down. She asks why he thinks she is still just standing there talking, and that is when the dread finally sets in. Look back confirms his worst nightmare. His parents are looking completely drained, and he realizes he fell for the oldest trick in the book. Elsewhere, Lord Gregor adjusts his glasses with a smug smirk. He is satisfied knowing everything is going exactly according to plan. Casually explaining that a human shield is way more effective than a metal one, he looks right at Lapis, knowing he has her in a total stalemate. The horror of the situation finally hits her. The Springfield couple is being puppeted by a fake version of curse magic. Gregor looks around at the wreckage of the room with a bored expression. He casually reveals that his miracles are actually curse words before shutting down any further debate. Lapis is absolutely repulsed by the guy. She tells him his twisted power is nothing like what Rid uses and claims it makes her skin crawl just being near it. Gregor just lets out a dark little chuckle at her outburst. He seems impressed that she figured it out and decides it is time to give her a reward. A massive wave of dark energy explodes from Gregor's ring like a toxic cloud. Lapis finally realizes the ring is the source of his fake power as the trap is fully sprung. The situation turns brutal in a split second when Lapis is suddenly struck down. She collapses to the floor as Gregor gloats about finally clearing the obstacles from his path. Our villain is done playing games and lets a predatory grin spread across his face. With the competition out of the way, he is ready to claim the real curse words for himself. Lapis lies motionless on the cold floor as Gregor stands over her and decides it is finally time to finish what he started. Gregor steps past the incapacitated parents and focuses on claiming the true power for himself. From the ground, Lapis barely finds the strength to tell him to wait. She is bleeding and bruised, but she refuses to give up. Even while pinned to the dirt, she vows that she will never let him win. Lapis tells him to keep his hands off her students. Gregor just adjusts his glasses, noting that he really should have made sure she was dead the first time. The villain realizes that she must have dodged the fatal blow at the very last second. He is impressed that she still has enough consciousness left to avoid her vital spots. Controlling human puppets is proving to be a lot more difficult than Gregor expected. Since the father is resisting the command, Gregor decides to deliver the finishing blow himself. A predatory smirk spreads across Gregor's face as he activates the ring. With a single cold command, he orders the puppet to thrust the blade forward. Lapis is at the end of her rope, but a sudden command freezes the enemy's blade in midair. The weapon slams harmlessly into the wall as Gregor watches with an amused smirk. Our boy finally makes his entrance, forcing Gregor to acknowledge that a real curse speaker has arrived. Rid sprints to his teacher's side. He immediately turns to his parents and screams for them to stay far away from Gregor. Rid is left reeling as he looks at his family. Lapis confirms his worst fears, revealing that his parents are being puppeted by the villain's magic. The shock hits hard as Lapis warns him that this isn't just some low-level curse they are facing. Lapis forces herself to stand despite her brutal injuries. She draws her blade and tells her student to run for reinforcements while she holds the line. Our boy moves fast, pressing his hand against the teacher's wound and commanding it to seal shut. Gregor watches the miracle with a twisted smirk, admitting that seeing a pure-blooded curse speaker in action only makes him want Rid's power even more. Rid takes a heavy step forward and apologizes for being selfish, but there is no way he is letting his parents be used as puppets. He screams at the top of his lungs, vowing that he will never leave his teacher behind to face this nightmare alone. Gregor isn't even bothered, casually mentioning that he has a lot of things he wants to discuss with such a talented kid. He reaches out with a predatory grin, telling our MC to just be a good boy and stay quiet. The villain suddenly orders an attack, but Rid is already shouting a counter-command to break whatever is flying their way. Gregor roughly grabs Rid's father while the boy is sent flying back from the force of the previous blast. Refusing to let the villain escape, our boy screams a command to freeze the man right in his tracks. Gregor remains silent for a second before whispering a counter-command to his own body. He can feel the heavy weight of the spell, but his dark mana starts pushing back against the invisible force. Looking down at his trembling hand, he realizes he can't fully cancel the effect. His right arm still feels heavy and unresponsive, confirming that he is finally facing a true master of the craft. Instead of panicking, the man starts laughing like a total psycho. He covers his face and shouts about how wonderful this level of power really is. As dark energy swirls around his ring, Gregor claims that curse speech is the ultimate gift that lets a person control anything they want. Rid isn't about to listen to the villain's monologue and prepares another spell to lock him down. The villain drops a cold order for the parents to become his shields. Rid can only watch in horror as his own mother and father are forced to step in and protect the monster. The parents immediately grab Rid and pin him to the ground, while the villain tells him to just relax and talk. He warns our boy that if he tries to fight back, his parents are the ones who are going to get hurt. Rid is absolutely cooked, pinned down by his own parents while he worries that any wrong move will get them hurt. Lapis tries to jump back into the fray, but Gregor just laughs it off, reminding her that her body still hasn't recovered from the last blast. Our boy is panicking, desperately searching for a way out until a crazy idea finally clicks. No more holding back, he opens his mouth and drops a heavy command for his parents to just go to sleep. They hit the deck immediately. Rid feels like garbage for using magic on his own family, but it was the only way to keep them out of the crossfire. Gregor finds the whole thing amusing, asking why our boy has such a moral problem with controlling people. Rid isn't having it, shouting that turning humans into puppets is just plain wrong. Lapis stands her ground, backing up her student and telling the villain that his twisted logic is a total fail. Gregor looks at his ring and tells our boy that having power does not mean he is not still a total kid. The villain starts yapping about how cursed speech can control kings and help him run the whole world. He spreads his arms wide, claiming he is basically becoming a god. Rid stands his ground and asks what the point of all this power even is. Gregor reveals he is doing this for revenge because the upper-class nobles bullied him for having low mana. Turns out this guy spent years hitting the books to find a way to make his enemies suffer. He tries to act like they are on the same team since the Springfield family also got demoted by the elites. The room falls silent as the magic takes hold, leaving his parents in a deep and dreamless sleep. Gregor acknowledges the cold reality of the situation while Rid can only watch the fallout of his own command. The villain begins his sob story, detailing a childhood of constant rejection and the shame of being born into a noble family without a drop of mana. He was the black sheep mocked by the elite for the very thing he couldn't control. Back in the present, he fixates on the potential of cursed speech. To him, this power is not just a gift. It is a cheat code for reality that can make any selfish dream a reality. Gregor continues his sales pitch, claiming he understands the reckless drive that has carried Rid this far. He suggests that Rid has only been able to charge ahead because of the hidden safety net his power provides. The mask finally comes off and the true goal is revealed. Gregor offers a seat at the top of the food chain, inviting Rid to join him in a total takeover of the kingdom, where their status would be absolute. The offer hangs in the air like poison, forcing our boy to choose exactly what kind of man he intends to become. A memory of the past resurfaces, echoing Koudelka's warning that his special talent is a double-edged sword. Depending on his heart, he could become a legendary hero or a bringer of death. Theodore drops some old-school wisdom, reminding him that pure power is not everything. Our boy realizes that staying true to himself is the real key to success. Back in the present, Rid turns to the villain and admits that he actually makes a lot of sense. Lapis is losing it at the potential betrayal while Gregor lets out a devious smirk. Gregor goes full mask off, shouting that their rage is justified and it is finally time for a revolution. He is ready to tear down the world and replace it with his own logic. The invitation is officially on the table to join forces and change the country together. Thinking back on his family and friends, he knows exactly where his loyalty lies. He clenches his fist and stands his ground, Cursed speech is for protecting his family, not for starting a war. He lists out everyone he intends to protect from his family to every soul in this territory. Standing his ground for his family name, he makes it clear that hurting others is completely off limits. Gregor lets out a long sigh, looking like he is officially over the conversation. He dismisses Rid's resolve as nothing more than childish stubbornness and decides he is done playing nice. His gaze turns cold as he drops the act. He lets out a heavy command, "Capture him." A burst of dark energy erupts from the ring, closing in on our MC before he can even react. Just as the trap closes, a sword flash cuts through the air as Lapis returns to the fight. The villain's long-winded talking actually backfired, giving her just enough time to finish her healing spell. Teamwork is the strategy now, with our boy handling the defense so Lapis can go for the win. Lapis drops a bomb by mentioning he does not act like a normal kid. Our boy is internally panicking, wondering if his secret reincarnation status just got leaked. She admits she totally misjudged him as some overconfident brat. She finally acknowledges him by his full name, Rid Springfield. The cold mask finally breaks as she offers a genuine apology for being so rude. She admits his heart and power are the real deal. With the air cleared, she gives the green light to go all out. Our boy is more than ready to show what he can really do. The fight is finally popping off as Lapis charges in with a massive battle cry. Gregor is just standing there with a smug smirk, but Rid has that focused look like he is about to cook something up. Villain behavior at its peak. Gregor raises his hand and commands the ground to become a wall, popping a giant rock pillar out of nowhere to block the path. Not on Rid's watch. He taps into his power and lets out a single command to collapse the obstacle. That wall did not stand a chance. Gregor is forced to yell out an evade command as the stone shatters, and Lapis slices through the dust while Rid watches the absolute chaos. Gregor is internally panicking because that last hit felt different. It was not just curse magic, it felt like something was actually pulling him into the line of fire. Lapis decides it is time to create her own opening. While Gregor tries to maintain his defense, she starts pumping massive magic power into the wind to launch herself forward. Gregor tries to hit the brakes with a stop command, but the momentum is already set. Lapis is flying straight for him, and that smug look is officially gone. Just as things look calm, Rid catches a glimpse of a barrier shattering and screams for everyone to move. He can't believe how fast the situation is escalating. The magic isn't breaking like it should, leaving the team confused as to why Gregor's curse words are still in effect. It's a mystery how he's keeping the spell active without a direct channel. Lapis can feel the resistance against her blade, realizing the sword isn't just stopped, it's being actively pushed back. She figures out that this is the real face of the power they're up against. She doesn't need to see it to know something is wrong, sensing a dark presence standing right in front of them. Lapis calls it out, identifying the hidden enemy as a cursed spirit. Our boy is stunned by the revelation, but Gregor just smiles and prepares to show them the truth. He's officially done hiding his secret weapon and wants to make an example out of them. A skeleton in a dark hood manifests from thin air right behind Gregor, revealing the truth behind his fake miracles. Rid is left processing how anyone could control something so twisted. Lapis charges forward and explains that because this spirit was once a magician, it has the power to mess with the physical world. She is not backing down, even if she is fighting a ghost. Gregor reveals the trick behind his fake miracles. Detonating magic inside a sandworm creates a perfect explosion that fools the entire village. These spirits have their own will and can even possess people. Gregor uses that same power to float around the battlefield, making him almost impossible to pin down. Ancient legends tell of spirit mystics from the Far East who could control ghosts. It turns out Gregor has mastered those forbidden secrets to pull off his schemes. The whole secret is in that ring. It acts as a medium that makes controlling cursed spirits look like a walk in the park. Lapis isn't buying the act anymore while she clashes with the skeleton. She realizes the spirit of Taramu was never defeated, just enslaved by this fraud. The harsh reality sets in, while Gregor laughs at their confusion. He basically turned the entire town into mindless puppets who gave up their own will just to feel satisfied under his rule. He believes his curse words and that dark ring give him the power to bend the world to his every wish. Gregor threw his arms wide as the hooded spirit materialized beside him. He declared that everything was about to become real. Our boy's eyes went wide as he took in the twisted sight. Looking at the skeleton, Rid couldn't help but notice how painful its existence seemed. Gregor adjusted his glasses, noting that the spirit's power only grew now that it was out in the open. He taunted Lapis, asking if a teacher like her could even handle a special class cursed spirit before ordering it to attack. The spirit sent a shower of rocks flying through the air. Lapis immediately jumped in front of Rid, telling him to stay back. Lapis sliced through the incoming boulders, but the impact sent her reeling back. She gritted her teeth and called out to Rid as she struggled to stay on her feet. Lapis collapsed to the ground, but she still tried to push Rid away, telling him to run for help while she created an opening. Rid refused to leave her side, shouting that there was no way he was running. Our boy is stuck in a bad spot. He knows trying to curse a cursed spirit is a suicide mission since the damage just bounces right back. Recalling his last encounter, he calls out for Lapis while searching for a way out. Rid decides to stop the fighting and try a different path. I'm going to try talking to the cursed spirit. Lapis is completely baffled as Rid steps forward. He wants to save the spirit, calling Gregor out for forcing a soul to obey his selfish revenge. Gregor is cold as ice, dismissing the dead as nothing but pests. He thinks using them as tools is actually a form of mercy. Our boy is not backing down, yelling that these spirits were once hurt humans just like them. Gregor just gives him a creepy smile, mocking his kindness. The situation goes from bad to worse as the spirit makes its move. Gregor laughs while the boy is caught in a life-or-death struggle, daring him to save a monster that's trying to kill him. Diving into the spirit's memories, our boy discovers a massive scandal unfolding at a busy port. An official is stripping the Gutsubasha family of their trading rights, accusing them of smuggling. The head of the family is left in total shock by the sudden betrayal. He insists they have been loyal traders for generations and would never do something like this. Flashback to a dark day at the docks. Ludwig Gutsubasha and his family realize they have been framed for smuggling. His child points a finger at the real culprit, but the trap has already been sprung. The kid tries to play the noble card, thinking their rank will save them in court. The official just laughs it off and reveals he already sent his own report to the capital. Talk about a hostile takeover. The official gloats about stealing their magic ships and trade routes, while his own family gets a promotion for exposing the crime. Ludwig is completely broken, watching his entire life work vanish in an instant. The official just stands over him, pretending to offer a way out of the mess. The solution is twisted. Since the family has high magic power, the official suggests they sell themselves into slavery to pay off the debt. Violence erupts as the official orders his guards to silence the child for speaking the truth. The family is dragged away in chains, their lives ruined just so a corrupt noble could climb the social ladder. Left alone in the dirt, the child heart turns to ice. A single vow of revenge echoes as they promise to never forgive the monsters who took everything. Rid gets through to the spirit, acknowledging the deep pain it felt while trying to protect its family. He pulls Ludwig into a tight embrace, reminding the boy of the kind and loving person he truly is. With a gentle command to sleep, our boy promises that a reunion with his father is waiting on the other side. Ludwig gives a final smile of gratitude for being remembered before peacefully fading away into the light. The room falls silent as the spirit vanishes, leaving Gregor absolutely stunned that a lingering grudge could be talked down. Our MC stands his ground, shouting that these spirits are humans with names and not just tools for revenge. Lapis declares that his fake magic is officially cooked, but the villain refuses to give up without one last move. Rid gives the order to seize him, and Gregor is instantly trussed up in thick binding magic. The villain hits the floor with a heavy thud, while our boy stands his ground, his magic crest glowing brightly on his throat. Even with his face in the dirt, Gregor cannot stop his villainous pitch. He screams that Rid is wasting his potential by helping the weak instead of using his curse words to crush the nobility. Rid looks him dead in the eye, fully aware that his power is a double-edged sword. It can be a miracle or a nightmare, and that is exactly why he has to be the most careful person in the room. He acknowledges that the world is full of injustice and that they have both suffered because of the elite. But instead of letting that trauma turn him into a monster, he draws a hard line in the sand. Pain should not be used as a weapon to make others suffer. Gregor continues to throw a tantrum on the floor, claiming that Rid does not understand the true greatness of this magic. Rid doubles down, stating he wants his words to save people specifically because he knows what it is like to hurt. Lapis watches the exchange, realizing she might have misunderstood the essence of curse words. She admits she always believed this magic was only about commanding others and forcing obedience. It is the reason the association is so cautious about letting anyone with an immature heart use it. Lapis finally cracks a smile, seeing that her student is the exception to the rule. Rid has more power than most adults could dream of, yet he refuses to let it consume him. He is officially someone who can choose the right path on his own. Lapis and our boy survey the damage in the room, realizing the scale of the wreckage. He can only manage a stunned whisper while she bluntly calls out the mess. A new face enters the chat, a sophisticated-looking dude checking in to see if everyone survived the chaos. Katia rushes into the room in a total panic, screaming for Rid and Lapis before noticing the new arrival. She is practically in tears, explaining through her sobs that she was the one who hit the panic button to call her father for help. This refined gentleman introduces himself as Larimar Acorna, Katia's dad, and officially thanks the duo for looking after his daughter. He explains that he dropped everything after receiving an emergency message via a magical bird. Our boy is absolutely floored to find out Katia's father is actually a big shot from the Magic Association. Larimar looks down at the incapacitated villain, ready to hear the full report on how this fake curse speaker finally got taken out. Larimar doesn't just want a report, He invites both kids to follow him back to the capital. Our boy is caught off guard when he hears they are going straight to Aqua Regia, the legendary headquarters of the Magic Association. The reveal shows that Aqua Regia is a sprawling complex that serves as the heart of the magical world. This place is a significant step up from the small-town vibes they just left behind. That's it for today, guys. If you made it to the end, drop a W in the comments so I know you're real ones. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps the channel grow. Until then, keep on cooking.